All right. Welcome, everybody, to the pre show. We have a pretty awesome show for today. Very much looking forward to it. We're going to be talking about, of course, a ton of news from New World, the brand new patch from Lost Ark, and, of course, the always amazing Star Citizen. So, uh, as we always love to do at the beginning of the show, the beginning, basically, first hour here is basically us just chatting with you guys. And, me waiting for McLeod to get on comms. He's dutifully doing all of the patch notes at the moment and all that. So, with that, welcome you guys to the show. It's, it's obviously been a long time since we've done episode 1 of this show. But like I always want to make sure people know that like we're here for you guys. We're here because we enjoy just talking about games. That's always the goal. It's always going to be the goal. I do want to talk a little bit about kind of the future, and kind of where we're going with things. We have officially set up an LLC. We're transferring all of the necessary stuff over, on the legal side and on the tax side, to make sure all that's dealt with. And you might start seeing some additional opportunities that we're going to be taking a good solid hold on. And I want to make sure that people aren't caught off guard by any of those changes, but that you understand that the core of our business is basically going to continue to be the same, and we're not going anywhere. So that said, as part of the community, we want to make sure that people know what we're doing. See, McLeod has joined me in the channel here.
Hello. Sorry, I was updating things, and I still haven't had anything to eat yet. So
I know the feeling. I was chowing down on 2 burgers right before the show here.
It's like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, oh shit, we've got a 4-hour show. Best like actually get some fucking energy in us before this actually happens.
I
and
feel
then
like
I'm going like show notes. Fuck.
So I'd be curious what the audience thinks about this as well. And there's always, for those that don't know, like running a 4-hour long show is a marathon for us. It's not that
Because it's not just the thing is, it's not just playing a game and then just like reacting to a few people talking in like in chat. Like it's like we don't have a game playing that's sort of having like filling in for us somewhat in between us chatting to you guys and all that kind of jazz. So like when we're actually doing a show, it's a case of like we know you guys want content, we know you guys want conversations and talking and and dialogue and all that kind of stuff, and if we don't give it to you, nothing's gonna fill in that kind of void. No kind of game or story or narrative, etc., that we're in a game that we're playing at the moment is going to fill in for that in any way, shape, or form. So doing a show versus doing just like a let's play kind of stream is like entirely different when it comes to the amount of effort and input that you have to put into the show.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now we at least I've been I've mentioned this once or twice to McLeod, but I've been toying around with the idea of splitting the show into multiple shows, to kind of break it up time wise, because obviously like one of the bigger things here is that we want to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of time to cover any news that does come up, and on occasion there's not a lot of news for some games. So like for instance, Lost Ark is a good example of this, where because of their kind of cycle, there's not a whole lot of new stuff like this week. There's new stuff, obviously, with a new patch launching today, and the new class being released, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Okay, well, I hope I hope you know your shit
Yeah,
when you know
yeah,
when it
I know.
comes to that,
Yeah, I can see
because
that on the
I
show
don't
notes.
like,
Yeah,
and you haven't
uh,
written anything for it, so all right, whatever.
yeah, I didn't have a chance to. That's a lie. I had a little bit of a chance, and I ended up buried in other
You went for
stuff.
double burgers. You went for burgers instead.
Yes. Um, I
I see
ended up
where
getting
you're
off.
going
I
with
got
this.
off work a half hour ago, so I had to
All
fit
right.
dinner and walking the dog in like the less than 30-minute window um of getting off work and
That's
pre-show.
okay. I won't judge you. It's fine.
Um, um, but and of course, like in preparation, one would have thought, oh yeah, I could have just used the weekend, but I was largely MIA this weekend. Um,
Hmm.
as I took a 2 day kind of hiatus from, I don't
All
want
the
to say from
usual.
technology, but basically from my usual life,
Yeah.
and went and got my motorcycle license on a track. So that was that was an interesting experience. So very out of the normal for me.
Um, I can't remember where it is, but like I remember watching a Top Gear special where they were like on motorbikes and they learned how to ride a motorbike. Like they had to actually sort of like take the license in the country, and I can't remember where it was, but uh,
Like I want to say it was like Thailand or something that they went from
it
like
wasn't. Yeah,
one side to the
it
other
wasn't
on
typing
bikes.
on. I'm gonna I'm gonna do this properly and like actually open up like Google Maps. Okay. Vietnam. Was it Vietnam? It was Vietnam. I'm
Yeah,
sure it was
that
Vietnam.
that sounds
Yeah.
right.
So they took their like bike driving lesson in or cycling lesson in test in Vietnam, and I imagine the difference between what you did and what they did was like worlds apart, to be honest, because
Yeah,
the written test and the like the practical tests seem to be very short indeed.
yeah.
Uh,
And mine, I think we did maybe 5 hours of like classroom type instruction. Um,
yeah.
and basically enough to pass the test. Um, which was surprisingly easy. Um,
I mean, I don't know if
like it's a
anybody out
25
there.
question test, in Virginia
Yeah.
to get your license for it, and then from there you've got a practical test. Well, the kicker there is I haven't been on so much as a fucking bicycle in 2 years. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
I've been on one of those rental scooters a decent amount, and I actually recently bought a Segway 9 bot scooter. But like that's
Oh,
not
okay.
anywhere near the same as riding a motorcycle.
Not at
Um,
all. I mean, uh, if anybody out there has like sort of fun anecdotes or about like riding a bike or whatever, like yeah, definitely chuck that into chat because it's always like fun to hear. You know, as long as you're not like doxing yourself or sort of like revealing anything that you don't want to reveal or such. But like
yeah,
but
don't
always
post
nice.
any
It would
pictures of
always be
license
nice to
plates or
hear.
anything like that.
Yeah, it would always be nice to hear about like interesting anecdotes from chat and stuff like that. If you have them out there, that's fair enough. If you don't, that's fair enough too. But like yeah, um,
Like something tells me that there's not as many gamers that are also like motorcycle enthusiasts.
it's kind of like
But
I think the Venn diagrams there very rarely touch, and if they do, there's not that much of
um,
not much of an overlap there.
like I personally think, hey, it's a lot of fun. Like I enjoyed it. I don't own a motorcycle right now, but I would never buy the motorcycle that I trained on and passed the test on. Um, it was a Kawasaki Ninja 400, you know, which
Jesus Christ, man.
You know,
It's a
big guy on a
bit
tiny
much.
crotch rocket. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like completely. Um, yeah, not the style of bike that I'm interested in. It was fun. Like, you know,
Are you into
I
more
understand
into sort of
why
like
people are
cruising?
interested in owning bikes that are like that. But
Are you more
that's,
into
you know,
the more comfy kind of like
yeah, I mean, I want
bike?
more of like a standard. The ideal bike that I've been looking at is a Royal Enfield. And I've kind of mixed between three models. All on the same company. So it's either Royal Enfield or the Honda Rebel.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a very specific set of um um
You know who I
yeah,
didn't expect would be making motorbikes?
who's that?
Keanu Reeves.
True. He's got a lot of them actually. I think he's got several.
He owns a company. He founded a company called Arch Motorcycle Company, and yeah,
Interesting.
he makes bespoke sports cruiser motorcycles.
I just heard expensive sports.
Yes, he just
like,
he makes out of your price range sports cruiser motorcycles. That's
yeah.
essentially what it is. Like,
One of the things that I find interesting is that, like, when it comes to motorcycles, one, they appear to hold their value like really well. Like
yeah,
even you know, a 1970s motorcycle, if it's reasonably well taken care of, um like they tend to be almost the same price as you bought them for. You know,
yeah.
like, you know, it's
Well,
more
that's
of a they're
good.
more of a vanity item, so like they don't really lose their value. Um but what I don't really understand is that there are bikes out there that are 5 grand. There are bikes out there that are 20 grand, and I don't understand. Like, sure, they have more power, they're a little bit larger, but I don't understand what's adding the 15 grand.
Yeah.
You know, because like
Uh,
you can get a 5 grand bike that has almost as much power as one of those ones with 15 grand, but like from like all of the statistics pages and the specifications, like they appear to be
mhm.
pretty fucking close to the same bike. Like, you know, and of course, the bigger the
Okay.
bike, you need a bigger engine because now it's heavier. So
Yeah,
like, you
and
know, you
then
buy a
suddenly it's
Harley, and you know, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you need a good engine on that thing.
yeah.
You know? But for me, like, I'm looking um something like a Royal Enfield Continental GT is the one I've really got my eye on, and then the other one, and it's really dependent on like the comfortability and actual like size, because like I'm 6'2", so like, you know, if it's a shorter racing bike,
Hmm.
then it like seat height actually really matters.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, looking at that, or the classic 350 from Royal Enfield as well, is one that I'm kind of considering.
Okay.
So wasn't anticipating
Yeah.
having a whole like, you know, a whole section of the show dedicated to motorcycles, but
Hey,
you know,
this is the beauty of the pre-show. You have no idea what you're gonna get.
oh yeah.
It's like a box of chocolates. I'm sure
And
there's a quote in
so
there in somewhere
I thought
that's
it was kind
memorable.
of interesting, so the course that I took this weekend to actually get the license, you know, not everybody passed, which, you know, definitely bites for some people. Like, you know, you make it.
Hmm.
Some people didn't even make it to the test. Like, they just got counseled out, and the instructors were like, I'm sorry, you really need to go." Like, they like, the state has
You're
two
not here
paths.
yet. You're not there
Like,
yet.
like some people, they can just pick it up and just be naturally good at it. I am
Yeah.
one of those people that surprisingly was very good at it, and like even the instructor was like, you know, basically you're the top of the class. You got 0 points off on your practical exam. Like you know how to ride a motorcycle. And it was like, I feel like I know how to ride a motorcycle, but sure. Like, so basically in Virginia, you got two options. Uh, you can take a course through the MSF, which basically is like $350, 2 days, 8 hours each day. Um, and they validate that during that you take the written test and the practical test, which are the same
Mhm.
exercises that you have to perform at the DMV if you were to go the other route. The other route is for people who just don't like aren't able to develop the skills in 2 days and need more time. Uh, the other route is you go to the DMV, you pass the written portion of the test, and then
Yeah.
you turn around and uh, you can get right then you can get your kind of temporary learner's permit for motorcycles. But the kicker to
Right.
that is that you then have to at all times be riding with another driver on another bike, obviously, because it's not like they can do anything. Not like they can do anything to help you, anyways. But you have to
Yeah.
be with another motorcycle driver who has a license uh,
Hmm.
anytime you drive. And then you have, I think it's uh, a year from that point to go take your practical test. Um,
Okay.
you know, and then it's this whole like set it up with the DMV, show up at a certain time, all that. Like now, that's
Yeah.
obviously the cheaper option if you already own a bike and like let's say like your parents, your dad owns a motorcycle and you want to learn how to drive a motorcycle. You get a shitty beat up motorcycle, get your learner's permit, you drive with your dad,
Yeah.
and that's most of the time what people do. The class that I was in was basically individuals almost exclusively going through midlife crises. Um, where it was like, oh hey, like I've got exposed expendable income. Here's the fun thing that I want to do this weekend, and I want to have some fun with it. So fuck it, Uh,
Yeah.
like one of the guys literally just finished his pilot's license as well, and he's just out
Hmm.
collecting licenses. Um, and it was like, oh hey, like that's actually kind of cool. And I had a bunch of chat with him about um, that's one of the licenses that I would like to get, but he has much more expendable income than I do. Um, I because the pilot's license is thousands of dollars. Um, like it's several $100s for the application for a pilot's license. Then on
Yeah.
top of that, it's you need I think 50 hours, 50 logged hours flying, plus all of the trainings and all of that for before you can fly. So like it's basically like 15 grand.
Oof.
Yeah. And that's
That's a
like
fair
that
amount.
includes like all of the fuel prices and all of that for flying for 50 hours. Um, you know, which of course is more expensive than fueling a car.
Yeah.
Um,
It definitely is.
so, but like overall, like it was actually a really fun experience because um, you kind of you learn what you like, what you don't like. You learn kind of the obvious stuff that you wouldn't expect that you would like, or they expect that you would really care about. Um,
Hmm.
I also ended up buying a helmet while I was there too because I learned I have a massive head. Um, like when an entire industry tells you, hey, by the way, your head's pretty big. Like they were like, oh, you can rent a helmet from us. It goes all the way up to 2x, and your head should fit in there. It did not fit in there. And then they were like, well, look for a 3X, and like I get to the store, and you know I get to the store because it's paired up with the motorsports dealer, and um,
Yeah.
they take
Okay.
one look at me and they go, your head's not fitting in a 3X. Like, I ended up buying a 5X helmet, like one of the largest helmets made for just about anything. I should give you guys some perspective on just how big my fucking noggin is. So,
I mean, typically people with not with that much brains doesn't generally tend to find their way onto a motorcycle. I think that's what that means.
yeah. Or back onto a motorcycle. Like
Yeah.
back in high school, I actually was in a really bad car accident. When I graduated high school, I actually had I had a 50cc moped. Just tooling around town. Like, thing only went like 35 miles an hour, so it wasn't exactly fast, um, but fast enough to get around on city streets. Well, the challenge to this was when I actually got in an accident, and I was going straight. Guy is coming at me and decides he's gonna turn, and I'm gonna go right over top. Uh, Inverted both knees, dislocated a shoulder, wrecked my hip. My shoulder was dislocated because I rolled into um, I rolled into his windshield, and basically breaking through the windshield caused me to dislocate my shoulder. And in the process of inverting both of my knees, I broke the key for my moped off inside my knee.
Oof.
Yeah, like, and
That's
you'll note there's not
hard.
a lot of room inside your knee.
You know, I
Yeah,
haven't ever decided like, how much room is there in my knee?
yeah,
Like, it's never really been one of those things that made me kind of
yeah,
go, let me just check this out and see what's going on with this. Like, how, like,
yeah.
I can imagine maybe some macabre kind of person going like, in very much the same sort of sense of like, wrapping drugs in a condom kind of thing and then swallowing it. Sort of like, where inside the body can you stash drugs? And in the knee was never, I can never see
Yeah.
that in the knee might be a good idea of that because you don't really put much. You can't really put much there, as far as I know. It's a very action-based area of your body.
Yeah. Yeah. I can also tell you that the things that you don't want to do, um, the summer
Is
of your
a lot.
senior year of college or senior year of
Uh,
high school, is
yeah,
invert both knees and spend the entire summer relearning how to walk. You know,
but it does tick off your parallel things to do. If you think that you're Jack Ryan,
yes.
you know,
Yes.
spend a summer learning how to walk again. Like, yeah, yes,
Mm-hmm.
that I've done. I've done that.
Yep.
Uh, uh, can I mention you being picked up
I've got a number of different
by
accolades that make me feel and seem like I'm someone like Jack Ryan. For those that don't know, my background is in emergency management, so it's not overly uncommon for you know uh, coordination with DoD or coordination with a variety of different agencies. It's also not uncommon for me to take flights randomly, and not civilian flights at that. Um, you know, I have been picked up randomly by a helicopter during my workday from my office, and flown across the
Oh,
country.
okay.
You know,
Yeah. It
um,
wasn't from a wedding reception, so at least there's that.
true, true. That would be cooler though. That would be cool. That's obvious.
Eh,
That's obviously cooler. Like, that's the
well, yeah. I
you
mean,
know
yeah, but like You know?
That's on my list. Be important enough to be like actually picked up, when you're obviously doing something else.
Yeah.
Um, my thing was
On your
obviously much more work
on
related.
your day off at a social event,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. And I can tell you, going back to the learning how to walk again, not on your bucket list, I can tell you I'd rather not do it again. That's for sure. There are
Like one
certain
of those
things that you
things.
take for granted, like you know walking. Like everybody's pretty on board with like, hey, this is like pretty. Like once you get the hang of it
This is
as a
a nice
child,
thing.
like it's the bee's fucking knees. Like it's real easy, and you get real used to being able to do it. And it's a fucking bitch when you can't. you know,
Yeah.
let alone
Yeah.
going into your freshman year of college with a pretty significant limp. Um,
Oh yeah.
you know, I mean, I wasn't at that point. I wasn't like by the time I got through the summer, I was mostly walking again, but it was pretty obvious something was wrong with my knee. Um, you know, because in total it took there's still some permanent damage, and McLeod can attest. He's heard me bitch on my back for probably the last 9 years. You know,
You're an old motherfucker in terms
yeah,
of your back. Like,
yeah,
if there's ever a situation where like scientists come up with like, oh yes, like we can now do spine transplants, you'd be like, sign me the fuck up.
Gibbs,
Dips.
Gibbs. Can I trade out my body? Like I feel like I've got like a 65-year-old body. It's you start going through the list
So
of shit wrong with your body, and you're like,
so it yeah, but so when I says this, this chair or this gaming chair is fucking comfy AF, he means it. He really
exactly.
means it because his back will fucking tell him that something's up or something's not right, like ASAP.
Like it's rare for me to give a plug for anything, but below the screen or below the show here, Secret Labs, the chair that I own, like some people are like, oh, they just market the shit out of their stuff. Like the thing is, anybody that owns one of these chairs really likes it for a reason.
Really knows it.
Um,
Yeah. I don't
you know,
I don't have one at the moment. Like that's the thing. But then again, I'm getting a standing desk, so I'll be moving when I move to my new place, I'll be getting a standing desk.
yeah. Um,
Um,
but like I highly would recommend, or I'd highly recommend this chair. Like as
that
somebody who
that
has
Chris,
a bad back, bad knee, the whole works. Like you know, it's actually a really good chair. The seat's a little bit on the harder side, but like you get used to that. Um,
yeah.
but it holds up really
Um,
well.
that Christmas sale might have finished by now. But
Yeah, we haven't updated the
there,
image
there,
for it, but
there is
yeah,
there is a sale up to 9% off a couple of products or something like that. But like, yeah, off selected shares. But yeah, it's one of those things. If you value your posture, if you value your ass, if you value your spine, then sitting down comfortably on something that is that is built properly and will continue to remain solid for a long period of time is actually really, really, really useful. I have a friend, right, who streams quite a lot, streams Tarkov quite a lot, has a very small but dedicated community, right? You know, um, they eventually kind of they eventually kind of pulled up enough money to be able to for him to purchase a Secret Labs chair, right? I think I can't remember which one it was, um, but he ended up getting a Secret Labs chair. Um, he kind of has bad back. He's obviously older than you, but he hasn't been in an accident which like has fucked up his back kind of thing. But he's still still a bit of an old man. You know, uh, there is he if I was to describe what he looks like, right? If you've seen Dune, right? If you've seen Oscar Isaac in Dune, he played Duke Leto Atreides. Like, guy, when he grows his beard out, looks the fucking spitting image of Oscar Isaac in Dune. Um, but like he got the chair on order. It came and he basically he opened it up and set it up. Um, during during a stream, and finally finished it up and all that kind of stuff, and all that kind of thing. And then he sat in it, and I swear to God, like the difference between, obviously the difference between the chair that he had and the chair that he had his kind of community purchase for him, like was so different, and so much better, just in to him, in terms of like comfort, and in terms of just being able to you know do what he does, but without the pain that he has, like the pain that he has in his back, was so much that he literally just like he broke down like on stream completely. And that you know I can't think of a better like ringing endorsement to getting a decent chair than something like that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I, I need to go quickly do some stuff. There's kind of one of the reasons why I don't have my camera up yet, is because I need to go and do some stuff. And if that's okay with you, A's,
And I
I'll be back
suppose.
in like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
good.
Yep.
All right, man. I'll be back in 10.
So yeah, things are uh things are in an interesting place right now. The um sorry, drank something right before the stream and it's not sitting well with me apparently. The Yeah, kind of a lot to cover tonight. I'm realizing this as I'm also trying to like transpose notes for the uh, Lost Ark section. Um, Surprising amount that was released and some unexpected changes that I think the community is a bit kind of peeved about in some cases. Well, some people are peeved about it. Other people are just like, meh, who cares? Uh, yeah, it's been kind of an interesting week. It's actually been a really really interesting week, but can't talk about like most of it. Cloud's got me looking at these Arc motorcycles, and I'm sure this is way more expensive than I can afford. You know, it's bad when the price isn't on there. But yeah, so let's see what else. I saw some interesting news on Reddit uh, earlier today. Sorry, I've got to find the post I was looking for. Where is it? It's See, now I feel bad because completely whiffing on it. Let's see. Some interesting stuff for Star Citizen that they're actually like expecting to launch the newest 3.17.2 patch in basically the next like few days. So like I'm really pumped about that. Probably more than I have any right to be, but like that's actually like really big news. Um, is Ah, here we go. Here's what I was looking for. Soulframe. So, uh, for those that enjoyed Warframe, Warframe's creators, Digital Extremes, are in the process of creating a new game. That game is going to be Soulframe. Uh, and I am probably unrealistically excited about this game. Like even if it's a reskin um of Warframe to just a different feel, it's gonna be pretty good. Like for those that haven't tried Warframe, Warframe is basically space ninjas, and you know it is ridiculously fun to play. It is a very active game to play. Um, like you're bouncing off the walls, you're running at excessive speeds. It's pretty crazy. Um, and actually like super fun. It's one of the few games that I keep installed on my computer at all times, but I don't play it near as much as I used to. Um, but let me find a video of this here because this is actually worth watching. Actually, I can't show the video for this because I'll put it on anyways.
It began as song, pitched sweet and solemn. They that heard came hollow, fallen. Their children raised in castles loft, made hunters grave, of others not.
Remember this. We are a family.
Yet beyond the pale of Odin's sky live verdant fields of rain and wild, where omen beasts of Alka's lost remember still and tell the ghost. So listen well. Envoys of shame. And bear their souls within your frame. Find your spirit, your grace renewed. and return to Earth. Her power true. Join us, won't you?
So, pretty decent kind of lore intro to the game. Hopefully they can hit the same kind of mark when it comes to the actual launch of the game visually. I believe it's being developed in Unreal 5, which is of course awesome, because that's going to give them a lot of depth to be able to play with, and should be overall really good. I know I'm very much looking forward to that game. Like Warframe in itself was a great game. It's nice to see that they're venturing out, developing new games, and not just kind of relying on Warframe itself. Obviously they're going to continue to work on Warframe, but it's better for the studio to have multiple games than to just be like a one-trick pony. And hopefully they've learned a decent amount about what people like, what they don't like off of Warframe, and then can implement that into Soulframe. So pretty pumped about that. Now the other one that I am like super pumped for is Skull and Bones, and I'm very much a pirate.
Our game takes.
Oh, yeah, we're just gonna turn that off because Skull and Bones is of course kind of like a spiritual successor to Assassin's Creed Black Flag without being in the Assassin's Creed universe. I think the overall kind of general feel that they're aiming for is just, let's have fun with pirates. The servers appear to have at least 16 people on them, and there's a variety of different game modes, including PvP, PvE, PvPvE. And you can also play completely solo. So, like, although it's a multiplayer game, you don't have to play with other people if you don't want to. There's a lot of ship customization options. There's a lot of different things that we've seen. And there's a variety of different ships as well. So, like, you start the game at a small ship, you build your way all the way up to kind of a bigger one. This is one of the few games that I have actually pre-ordered. It's rare for me to pre-order a game, but this made my list of games that I've got enough hopes, and based on the 25 minutes of gameplay I've seen, I'm sure that I can at least get the value that I put into it out of it. So yeah. Wanted to make sure people saw this and that this is on people's radar, because this, I actually think, I was a little bit surprised that this wasn't out for Summer Games Fest in terms of an actual video release then. This only was released a few weeks ago in terms of initial gameplay footage. So I'm happy to see more. I'm thinking a better Sea of Thieves or Atlas. It's a little bit less multiplayer than Atlas is, and a little bit more multiplayer than Sea of Thieves. You seem to spend most of your time on the ship. There's exceptions to that, but you seem to spend most of the time on the ship, which I think is an overall good thing. There are times when you're not on board the ship, but that's yeah. I'm very curious to see how it's going to play in the long run. But from what I've seen, there's actually a video of them running a 25-minute mission. I like what I've seen so far, and I'm really excited about this one. And that's Skull and Bones. So yeah. I don't know about you guys. You guys have any games you guys are looking forward to? Always curious to see what else is out there. Trying to keep my eyes open for whatever options and whatever whatever's kind of coming up. And I know there's been a few, like Modern Warfare 2, the remake. I'm very much looking forward to that. Dark Tide. Is that 40K? It is. It is 40K. Let's see what Dark Tide's about here.
Manufacturer of HL1736 is heading towards a power systems failure thanks to a bit of heretic sabotage. So you're going to restore the coolant and hopefully save the day. Get in, access the operations array, and use the cryonic rods to flush the system. Preferably before something explodes. Head on through the ventilation tunnels and look for an access point.
This way! Move it!
their data interrogators. If all goes well, we can unlock the system, prime the rods, and send them where they're needed. That's the first part done. Get to the base of the Matrix Spire and put those cryonic rods to work. What are you waiting for? Get it in place. Now! You finished here? Look for a way out.
All right. Color me intrigued. It's always interesting to see a 40K trailer that doesn't involve the like Ultramarines. Like obviously like 40K has like a super rich backstory, lore, and all that, and almost every game in the past has had basically a pretty solid tie to Ultramarines or it's hardly it's hardly ever like any of the others, because there's so many others like the tech priests and all that. Like you actually get to see a little bit of that in the game. That I kind of like that.
Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry, it took a little longer than I thought.
Welcome back. We are about 7 minutes shy of starting the show. Obviously we're just having fun still in the pre-show. Showcased a little bit of the trailer from Dark Tide, the trailer from Skull and Bones, and took a look at the Soulframe trailer.
Ah, okay.
So
Soulframe, as in the sort of like more gothic medieval version of Warframe.
Yep.
Okay.
Very much
Same.
looking forward to that.
Okay. Cool. I like it.
So yeah. Trying to think of what else to cover on the intro show or pre-show here. Don't want to hit the major stuff that we have. Just got a notification on my phone for a heat advisory.
Oh, is it getting hot over there?
Yeah, I think it's our turn.
Yeah, about fucking time.
Like, see, you guys get hot for a couple of days. Like, our country's so large that at some point, like,
it just gets hot
when we
and
say
moves
like
around.
30% of our country is over 100 degrees, that's like most of Europe.
Yeah, I get that, but like, is 30% of your country recording record high temperatures?
Yes.
You say that like with a question mark, potentially, maybe.
I mean, yes. Like,
then fair enough.
For those that don't know,
like,
the summer's gonna
50,
suck
60%.
heat-wise. Like, it's only gonna get worse.
We recorded the hottest temperature that has ever been recorded in the UK. I think it got to 40.3 degrees. Which was pretty damn hot. Thankfully, it wasn't ridiculously humid. Although when it dipped down to like 27-ish, like it was ramping up to like 50, 60% humidity.
Yeah. We've got a number of like larger problems that have started to really kind of hit a point of no return. For instance, for anybody who doesn't know what the Salt Lake is in Utah, We have a massive salt lake. Well, it's a much smaller salt lake than it used to be. Normally, every year, Salt Lake goes up or down by about 3 feet in depth. You know, it gets hot in the summer, naturally evaporates off. Then you get a rainy season, kind of comes back. In the last several years, it went down by about 3 feet a year, 2 to 3 feet a year. And for the last 3 to 4 years, has only come up 1 foot in the rainy season, which
Yeah.
is really
That's a
not
good
good because it is one, it's a wetlands area that is basically drying up and becoming a desert. 2, the Salt Lake is about 5 times as salty as the ocean. So like it's basically becoming mostly salt,
flats.
which will make it inhospitable to most things. Like, you used to be able to put most fish in it, but like even fish can't really survive in a lot of cases with that much salt. Salt is not a great thing for many reasons.
There's only a few things that can survive in high saline kind of like environments, and typically it's because they have adapted to it. But yeah, like if anybody ever wondered how a wetland can turn into a desert, it's happening in front of your eyes.
Yeah. And of course, the other sides of this are things like Lake Mead slowly drying up, which isn't a huge risk for like Las Vegas, because the pipe that feeds Las Vegas is much deeper in the aquifer than the one that releases water through the Hoover Dam, for instance, which had its own little fun and games earlier Monday, where a transformer blew up, and nothing like getting emails about a explosion at the Hoover Dam. That makes for a fun day. But of course, the challenge there is that they are way down on their water level, and it will slowly hit the point where water will not flow through the dam itself.
And that's an issue because it's a hydroelectric station, right?
Yes. So it's a combination of it powers most of Vegas and surrounding power for the area. But also it's it's a river. So everything downriver of that will dry up when that happens. Which is really not a good thing. And why am I saying all of this? Basically, if you're looking for a career with a whole lot of job security, emergency management is it. Because we are now living in a time, and without getting into the super politics of this, we're now living in a time of paying for older generation sins. And the reality is, call it whatever you want: global warming, global climate change, global ecological disasters. The reality here is that shit's gonna get a lot worse. And if you haven't noticed, hurricanes are more and more frequent and substantially higher rated. Earthquakes are always going to be a thing. There's record amounts of wildfires every year, and in large numbers. For those that are really looking to invest in things, I would highly recommend investing in water. Because in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm fully expecting there to be drinking water shortages, and not just Flint, Michigan style. So let's go do something more fun and talk about gaming.
Yes,
because that got dark.
Let's take our mind off that.
we're gonna see you guys on the other side of our intro video, and then we'll kick it right off with New World. All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for all kinds of gaming news. We have a action-packed show today. We've got a ton of news on New World. We've got a ton of news about the new patch in Lost Ark, and we've got even more news about Star Citizen. For those that don't know about Star Citizen, to answer this right off the break, in the bottom corner, there's a referral code if you're interested in actually giving Star Citizen a try. Please use that. It helps us, helps you. Everybody kind of comes out ahead on that front. It's going to stay up for the duration of the show just because we've got the spot on screen to put it, and I don't have anything else that I've typed up to put down there. So I understand at times we'll be covering New World, Lost Ark, and then Star Citizen throughout the show, but it is what it is. So, let's talk about where we were with New World, New World, Lost Ark, and Star Citizen last week, and then that'll catch us up so that we can get a good idea of what's happened since then and what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to kick this off or what?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So last week, last week, AGS basically had their Prime Day, like a Prime Day Twitch loot drop. So if you were around, on the pre-show we did a bunch of we were kind of looking and showcasing some Prime Day deals for you guys and all that kind of stuff. Because it was Prime Day, it was the second day of Prime Day. To get deals in and that kind of stuff. I got a few things. A's got a few things, I think. I ended up getting some 32 gigs of RAM, which is great. But either way, AGS had some Prime Day Twitch loot for New World. Basically they started the week off with obviously the Prime Day loot, but also with a team update video. One of the classic team update videos where they went through a bunch of topics. We broke that down. There's a GDoc available for a more comprehensive breakdown of that if you guys want it. So there was that. There was a PTR patch and a live patch as well. Basically the live patch fixed an abusable ability spam bug. And there was some questing bugs and a fix to basically the invisible void destroyers, and those massive giant heads that fire lasers and stuff. So, obviously you don't want one of those basically invisible just nuking you, because that will be really, really bad. Unfortunately, the PTR still had some bugs, and there were some bugs there that were really affecting people. The group finder feature, which people have been hoping for, was disabled and re-enabled a bunch of times. But it seems like, by the time, essentially when we came to doing the show, they'd had re-enabled it and it seemed to be stable. So hopefully it's in a stable place now. I believe it is. But yeah, we'll get into that when we cover this week's news. But last week, we also had a leak of the Brimstone Sands area on the map via the PTR. It was revealed that there was conquerable territory there because there was a fort and and associated kind of features there that we could see from the map. There was also one of the best meme content videos that was recorded straight from the client, which was really, really cool. That was a kind of a interesting sort of like 5-way multicolor dance thing, which was actually really kind of funny and kind of cool as well, which I think we all appreciated, which was really cool. And that was using 100% in-game animations. There was no kind of like, you know, trickery or no post-production kind of, as far as I know, in there. It was just, you know, it was recorded and framed really, really well in the game client as such. Also, interestingly enough, we found out some more info on a new Amazon IP that was being pitched. Basically, there was a new Amazon IP that we talked, I think, on the week before on the pre-show. It was basically a new IP by Amazon in conjunction with another company that were basically breaking the mold in terms of games produced in-house or games produced somewhat in-house by using an engine that wasn't Lumberyard or wasn't a Lumberyard derivative as such. And it was actually using, I believe, Unreal Engine 5. So the nice thing about that is, Amazon middle management and top execs are getting out of the way of the creative process, essentially, without and basically stopping them meddling with having to force their staff and their creative types using always in-house proprietary stuff, which is great. But we found out like from some job hirings there that there were actually that Amazon are hiring some people for that particular project, but with some massive multiplayer online gaming experience or development experience. So it's going to be something that is multiplayer, but massively multiplayer, hopefully. And yeah, that was New World news last week. Do you want to do the Lost Ark news?
So last week was a very short week for Lost Ark. There was a couple of things released in preparation, kind of like just prepping the community for the release of the Arcanist, which is the new class that released today. We'll talk more about that in the Lost Ark section. And of course, they won't, where we were last week is that the Smilegate wanted everybody to start preparing. Hey, this is going to be a thing, what to expect, what kind of benefits that you're going to be getting in terms of power passes and other things. And they threw in a few surprises that we were not expecting, particularly to do with the shop. We'll cover more on that in the Lost Earth section for what happened this week. And that brings us to Star Citizen. So, Star Citizen, we started off checking out an Unreal 5 visualization of Star Citizen and broke down why, although very impressive, Unreal Engine 5 just isn't a good fit for Star Citizen. What they're trying to accomplish in Star Citizen goes beyond the expectations and far beyond the limitations of any non-bespoke option when it comes to a game engine. Basically, Star Citizen is too large and too complex of a project to use anything kind of boilerplate behind the scenes. Now, this also has led to a pretty significantly long timeline to develop the game, but functionally speaking, they're in a pretty good spot. They're going in the right direction with the Gen 12 renders and all of that. But we'll talk more about that during the Star Citizen section. The Foundation Festival had started with a free fly event. Continuing, we broke down some of the good deals on starter packs. We caught up with the PTU patch and changes on the Orison event testing. Star Citizen Live was about the interactables and moving to the community in the Battle of the Bricks, which is coming soon. 2 days from now, it'll be on Twitch on the 22nd. And CIG also wanted to spotlight on some player organizations. They expanded this from 6 to 40 organizations in their article. And we rounded out the show with a look back to CIG's July work on Squadron 42 and the monthly roundup update. So basically, it was a pretty long show last week. And that brings us to this week.
Yeah.
So, New World this week. Cloud, I'll let you kind of kick things off here. I gotta step away for a moment.
Okie dokie. So guys, New World. If you guys haven't noticed that there's been a few kind of things happening with AGS, hinting at certain things, but one of those hints, AGS basically put together a guide on fishing, right? And if you don't quite know how this is a hint, then don't worry, I will fill you in on that. This is basically the kind of the fishing guide that they have put together is a preparation for the Summer Medley Fair, as from a kind of a lore perspective, for the Summer Medley Fair. It's all a celebration of the spawning of the Eternum sturgeon. That's kind of like the idea and the reason for this Summer Medley being a thing. It's meant to be kind of, very quaint, I guess. But essentially, the guide contains information on, say, how to mount your catches, and this particularly is a feature that is coming in the Summer Medley Fair. It's not something that is out on the live server, but should probably be out on the live server fairly soon, considering that AGS are essentially posting articles about how to do this. And so, yeah, if you haven't given that a look, then definitely take a look. They also, obviously, inside of that guide, and obviously on Twitter, they also sent out a tweet that gave you a series of charts with the various different fishes and their rarities, or obviously sort of grouped up into their various rarities. So if you're that kind of type or that way inclined, you can obviously cross off those fish whenever you as you find them, as you catch them, um, or just have them as a nice art pieces or whatever, if you want to say print them off and frame them or whatever. I don't know. Do with them what you will, I guess. But if you're the artsy type as well, there was another article as well. If you love to see what's going on or goes into the development of like seasonal events like the Summer Medley Fair, then you can. There's also an article that's showcasing the Medley Fair design and concept art, as it were. It goes into like a lot of detail into the sort of like the design drawings and showing the stages of development from a creative standpoint. It's actually really, really cool. There's a lot of really interesting art, really interesting kind of concepts, and it sort of shows you inspirationally where they sort of like they bring the design elements from various different things that they're inspired by, and how that kind of like gels and melds into the design philosophy that they've kind of gone for various different things. Admiral, there's a page for there's an art kind of page for Admiral Black Powder, showcasing kind of where they got inspiration from for various different details and various different aspects of him, as well as the Maelstrom Siren as well. But they also have like various different things for the performance stage, and all sorts of different things, which is really kind of cool. If you'd like to see sort of like the art process and design process of things like this in an MMO, then it's definitely a cool kind of thing to have and cool kind of thing to watch, or cool kind of thing to look at and read about, which is it's pretty cool. always like a bit of art based kind of intrigue, as it were. But yeah, other than that, like AGS, if you didn't know, there was essentially the TwitchCon, the Euro TwitchCon happened last weekend. AGS had a place obviously on there as Amazon Games, and a subsidiary of the company that owns Twitch as well. They would definitely have their place there. They also had the Arenas tournament there. I don't know if you guys, Ace, I don't know if you're back or not, and if you saw any of the Arenas tournament at all.
Unfortunately I missed it.
Okay,
However, I did
watched
hear that I did
watched a
hear
little
that
bit of it.
unfortunately there was not very good moderation in the chat.
All right. I didn't see that, but like I caught like a bit of it at the start, kind of thing. There was they had some technical difficulties, which I was kind of like confused as to how you would have such technical difficulties in that kind of scenario, because like it's only a 3v3. There's 6 computers that you're networking together, and I'm sure you'll be able to kind of do this kind of thing before you actually do the show, in order to make sure that like it's all set up running smoothly and all that. But who knows? I guess.
That's, you gotta remember, it's six computers, 6 visual outputs, to not just a
Oh,
monitor
no,
but to
no.
a central point,
So,
and of course you've got to make sure that it's that
so
it
they
is
didn't
a
actually have.
conference center. So conference centers
Yeah.
may have difficulties with internet when, like, you can test it ahead of time, but when you have 20,000 people in one spot,
I mean,
shit goes pretty wonky with internet.
I guess that might be the case, but like, yeah, it was less. It was less sort of like broadcasting technical difficulties, more sort of like stability of the arena and all that kind of stuff. Because like, the initial kind of game that they started before they had to sort of quit for a little, or they had to sort of pause it for a little bit for technical difficulties. Had one of the squads, one of the teams, sorry, essentially kind of disconnect, and so they were just sitting there and ended up getting taken out, like like fish in a barrel, as it were. There were some interesting kind of bits to it. One of the guys from one of the teams called Scoon. He had some really funny interactions with Cameron, and I don't know if you want to showcase that there, but it was actually quite funny. But yeah, there was I think there's some there's some good action there and that kind of stuff. But I think I think more of this, but I think at this point in time, I'm not sure whether uh, 3-man arenas are how I would say competitive PvP enough. I don't know. Anyway, the Summer Meta Fair patch on the PTR, it had its next patch. That's patch number 4. There are some interesting changes to that patch. Oh yeah, that's Scoon. Sorry.
So obviously some fun with the camera.
He was doing a very Scooby Doo kind of thing. Yeah. But
yeah.
but yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, the summer PTR. Sorry, the summer Medley PTR. Patch number 4. Right. There's some interesting kind of some interesting changes. They've added restrictions on changing weapon masteries while in combat. So you're not going to be able to quickly chop and change your weapon masteries while in combat. As for what those restrictions are, I'm not sure. I haven't checked. I didn't realize that they'd made restrictions on that as such. But like, there you are. There's some restrictions on changing weapon masteries while you're in combat with other people. Obviously, because they have this new system that determines as to whether you're in combat, whether you're not in combat. That allows them to be able to pin certain things onto that particular mechanic, restrictions and allowances and all that kind of stuff. I think
I think one of the biggest,
stuff
one of the
like
big things, and I noticed this a lot because I play a decent amount of Post Rush. They
Mhm.
fixed an issue causing Ugg and Doug, the ones that the bigger boss that spawns in the mines areas,
oh
to
yeah, yeah.
sometimes rapidly navigate from the mines towards the nearest fort, continuously on a loop,
Hmm. Okay.
which makes mining that area very easy.
Yeah, just a bit. So you're gonna have to actually like deal with Ugg and Doug at some point now, rather
Yep.
than just have them running around like you know like they used to. One of the things I think that is gonna be um, a relief to a lot of people in actual fact is that they've found that they've obviously realized that there is an issue and fixed that issue. Is if you haven't seen the sort of videos, there was a stun at like a 10-second stun being like applying to people when people were using the exhausting infected throw on the hatchet. um, that has been fixed, so there is no stun, no 10-second stun being applied to the exhausting infected throw perk. So you don't have to worry about like getting stunned for 10 seconds and dying, because you couldn't actually do anything because you got hit by one particular ability with a ridiculous stun. So that's really cool. They fixed an issue that where you gain armor bonus from the shield without actually having a sword equipped, which is great. Um, yeah, and I think that was like the main sort of like combat based changes that really is affecting a lot of people, or was affecting a lot of people in the PTR. So that's pretty good. Obviously, with the group finder stuff, they fixed crashes where players were forming a lobby group using the group finder, which is really nice. But yeah, I think that's like most of the more like uh, the kind of stuff that's uh, useful or beneficial for people to know about the patch number 4. Yeah, and so moving on. uh, AGS's dev. There's an AGS dev called Delacron, right? On the forums, he wanted to assure players that AGS, and I don't know if you guys have heard this in any way, shape, or form, around or in your kind of like social groups, or that kind of thing, friend groups or whatever. But AGS's dev Delacron wanted to basically assure players that AGS and New World are not going to be going anywhere, despite like, unsubstantiated rumors that were abound, and about essentially New World basically being shut down in some way, shape, or form. That is not going to be the case in any way, shape, or form. They are going to be sticking around for a long time to come. So don't worry about this. I think there's a lot. I think the thing that concerns people that has that has spawned that kind of concern is the kind of the the talk or the news that the Amazon are kind of like working with another company on a massively multiplayer game as such, and so people are like, oh god, they're all going to migrate to that game, and then New World is going to be left to languish as such. That's not going to be the case. The other nice thing is that Delacron also commented that that the Summer Medley Fair patch is coming soon. How much time or how much soon TM there is, I'm not sure, but like if we're looking at signs that it's going to be later rather than sooner, or sooner rather than later, if AGS are putting out articles that are specifically talking about mechanics regarding mechanics that are coming in the medley fair, then my guess is going to be on sooner rather than later for sure.
Mhm.
In terms of activity on the forums and that kind of stuff, there's been some interesting activity on the forums because there has been some interesting threads with with some activity there. There was so the most active thread for this week essentially is all to do with shell companies. Um, I don't know if you know too much about this, A's. If you want to kind of like dive into shell companies or not, but shell companies exist in New World. Um, we can fill you in on what those shell companies are, what shell companies are in New World, and what they kind of what they bring to the New World experience or what they remove from the New World experience. But essentially, uh, if you were here when the game launched as such, companies had a more restrictive player count. So a lot of player groups that had way more people than that player count restricted it to, created multiple sister companies to their main company, and a lot of those companies were basically utilized for in order to basically hold territory in various different ways. I mean, if you want to elaborate, do you want to elaborate a little bit on this, Ace?
What's the problem with
Yeah,
shell companies? Isn't that people are trying to play together? It's that they're trying to game the war system. So, functionally speaking,
Yeah.
what they're aiming to do um, is you build, let's say you want to own 3 different territories. So you have 3 different companies. You shift most of your members into the first company, take a territory, grind it, become the vanguard, take the territory. Then you shift most of your players into a second company, grind a different territory, take that territory, move most of your players into a third company, grind the other territory, and all that. And the real purpose behind this is that for each of these different companies, you're able to set up a different war window. Versus if it was all run under one company, all 3 of those territories would be vulnerable at the same time, meaning that they would need to field 150 people to defend those 3 territories. Versus using the same 50 people back to back to back in 3 different wars on the same day. There's a number of issues with this in that it's caused very few people to actually get into wars. It's not intended to basically have the same 50 people involved in every war for the entire server. Um, it really is a problem. Like, you want to make sure that you build a system that enables people to participate in all of the content, but also builds a system that is fundamentally fair. So
yeah.
Are people playing within the bounds of the rules? Technically
They are, but but that's the thing. It's a case of they found, it's loopholes, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like loopholes in law, right? They're not specifically technically, you're not specifically or the laws or the way in which wars or the territory system is meant to play out isn't meant to be kind of short circuited using this technique, but it is within the realms of the system as it is given to us players. It's just not like how it is intended to play out, as it were. You're not meant to have 50 of your 50 like insanely good or insanely well kind of equipped players basically defending, half the map's territory is just because they can, jump from one, from one war to another war to another war to another war, back to back to back. Like it's not how it essentially it carves away a large proportion of the sort of like more interesting aspects of the game into an area where like you have your own, like it's like a little kind of a little fucking private club, that nobody else can actually get into. And that's really unfortunate. Like, and hopefully there's changes that are coming to it, because like obviously there is a need for this to be expanded. And I think we've heard rumors of like practice wars or casual wars and that kind of stuff. Hopefully the system is, sort of shaken up and iterated upon, that casual wars isn't just something that is completely meaningless, but that there is also a degree of changes that kind of breaks this idea of the shell companies and shell company mechanic, basically allowing 50 people to, defend half the map every single time.
Yeah. Now, I would fully expect Amazon is going to take some action on this. Like, for one, you can kind of see the move towards the casual wars with the instancing of wars. But two, there's, they have to see that this isn't particularly fair, and it's an incredibly active thread on the forums. Like, there's 102 posts on this. Like, it's been seen. And I think that it's important to note that like I would highly doubt that they think that this is a good position. Like this is obviously something that needs some tweaks.
It's not intended behavior.
And I think that as they move forward towards other mechanics when it comes to rebalancing of territories or any basically anything, that this is just kind of an obvious thing that needs a touch up.
Yeah, it's really not intended behavior. But like, the thing is, the thing that Amazon has to make sure that they don't do is that they push the system into an area where it's way less fun. Obviously, the amount of fun that's being had, by those 50 people or those 100 people who are warring against each other, or maybe 150 if you're really including like all three different factions, but 50 on each, is maybe quite high, but like that's restricted to 150 people at absolute most, on a server. And I'm not talking 150 concurrent players, like I'm talking like 150 players maximum, like, on the server as such. Like, they don't all play at exactly the same time, because not everyone has wars. You can't have a 3-way war, for example. You can't, like, you have to, everyone has wars at slightly different times and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. But like, if they degrade the kind of the sort of fun of wars, whilst trying to sort of break this sort of this kind of metagame unintended way of playing the sort of the strategic territory kind of metagame as such, then that would be a kind of a bit of a loss. I don't know how you want to sort of do that calculation, like less fun but more people doing it equals more fun in general, or more fun but less people doing it, like,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think overall the challenge is that right now the intended gameplay is not to have the same 100 people playing in basically every war across the server, which is basically what's happening now, and in some cases happening on multiple servers with the same 100 people from both servers, like, that just have accounts on both servers. Like, it's
yeah,
kind of sad, So really, like creating a system where the having players be a part of the company that owns the territory needs to be a thing. Like it needs to. They need to find a way to ensure that the company that owns a territory has to have skin in the game. They can't just outsource 49 slots to um to a non to another company in the faction. you know uh Now that's not to say that like things like like being mercenaries and filling like a squad or two is very different than filling 49 slots on the roster.
Yeah.
Like that's an entirely different problem. um and I think that they need to balance that. They need to showcase, hey, let's let's enforce a new system that causes a more fair distribution of people. And in several ways they need to prevent the same they need to create ways that prevent the same people from being in every war. And I know that there
Yeah.
are people out there who enjoy being in 4 wars back to back to back to back. But the reality is, if you're in 4 wars, that means you can only be in one company. So, unless your company is attacking 4 different territories at one time, which is probably pretty rare, um, I think the problem is more,
Yeah.
yeah,
And going off, going off chat, going off Vesel's kind of comment, like I think, you know, from what I kind of see, Amazon Games kind of doing with, what they want to do with, what was the thing that they wanted to do, multi-server or cross-region? Like they were looking
the
into.
casual
Oh yeah,
wars.
it was no, it wasn't casual wars. It was one of the things that they talked about doing cross region or sort of region wide, cross server kind of thing was the
OPR.
no, the sort of dungeon finder, the expedition
Oh
finder,
yeah.
right? um the group finder, expedition group finder, right? Like they mentioned that they want to do that cross region, you know and if they're gearing up to be able to do that
Well,
cross region, then
in
chances are they're
in
going to want to
internal
do
to
other
the
things
same
cross region.
region. So to
Yeah,
to,
no, no.
to
Oh yeah,
clarify,
sorry.
US East, all servers on US East, if you were to queue
Yeah, yeah.
up, you would see other groups forming across the various servers on US
Yeah.
East. You wouldn't be able to go
Well,
US East to Europe.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
What I meant was across the region that you're in,
Yeah.
rather than going from one region to another. So internally to the region that you're at, like US East, US West, EU kind of thing. But basically being able to group up with people to do a dungeon, but like it doesn't have to be on with people from the same server as such, like, but it could be with people from the same region. But if they're trying to do that with the region group finder, or with the expedition group finder, sorry, then chances are they're going to utilize that tech or utilize the methods for that tech to be able to do the same thing for OPR, for for arenas, and hopefully because they're branching, they've already said that they want to branch off um, wars into instance content, right? And chances are they're going to be doing the same thing with wars. So if they're going to be doing wars in that kind of manner, or like some casual style kind of wars, mini wars. I don't know how they kind of want to, how they want to dress that up in any particular way. But if they're going to do something like that, then it makes sense that once you have that as a region wide kind of thing, that you can start adding like ranked stuff to it and adding leaderboards to it, and then that way you start developing some interesting sort of competitive natures, or competitive kind of gameplay, and competitive sort of uh, challenges and experiences for people, not just in the same server but across the entire region, which is great. That's what the game kind of really needs as well. It is like, something to break up that, like, I'm on this server and this server is all that, like, I care about, kind of thing. And hopefully that comes in sooner. Hopefully that comes in soon. I know that they said that they wanted to put leaderboards. I think it was in the autumn patches, or in the fall patch, or however they were going to wanted
Mhm.
to name that particular patch. But yeah,
You can pretty much guess with leaderboards, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to build leaderboards twice.
no,
So you
no,
can kind of assume that much of the stuff that's going to be, region-wide queues, um, for leaderboard purposes, uh, is gonna be complete by then. Hopefully, that's
yeah.
my like, let's think with some logic for a moment type thinking here.
Uh, so I mean, but if we're going to get into the more sort of like, I'm kind of going off chat a little bit from here, but if we're going into the sort of like, what we would like to see in terms of, territory control and, like, that sort of thing, and maybe invasions, for example. You know, the invasions have always been pitched to us as essentially corrupted invasions, right? But obviously, if you've ever played an invasion, you see, you see NPCs of various different types in various different waves, right? What I'd like to see is I'd like to see an iteration of invasions to basically be themed to the various different peoples, or the various different what do you say, the species, I guess, of the island.
Yeah.
You know,
So like,
that
an
would be really
angry
really
Earth
cool.
invasion, a
Yeah,
corrupted
it'd be cool.
invasion, a blight invasion,
Yeah, exactly.
Vangarian Knights invasion. You know,
Exactly.
there's a
It would
bunch
be
of,
really
like,
awesome.
pirate invasion. Like there's so
Yeah.
many you could do. And it would all kind of fold into the same topic. It's basically spawn enemies and have them run in one direction with a goal
Yeah.
of getting towards the middle. Um,
Lost type invasion, pirate
yeah,
invasion, all those various different kind of things,
it's all fun and games until you get, 100 white rabbits that spawn in with, level 65 puma attacks. You know, the
I
natural
hope you
invasion. That'll go real
hope
well.
hope you've stocked your holy hand grenades.
Yeah.
But in terms of that, like, that would be an interesting thing in terms of invasions, how you'd kind of iterate on the invasions and make it a little bit more interesting. But in terms of territory control, I don't know. I've always been butting my head up against the whole idea of, the three kind of the three factions, as it were. I know it was kind of an interesting idea, and I kind of get where they got the kind of ideas from. They got inspiration from it. I'm sure they got inspiration from it in some way, shape, or form from PlanetSide, because PlanetSide has this sort of similar style approach with having three faction. There is a kind of like a fourth faction now, but like, having three factions vying for control over territories on a map, kind of thing. And having this, constant sort of like, tug of war going on as such. But I don't know, like, I don't know whether I don't know if it works in New World or not. I'm tempted to basically just say ditch the whole thing, and then have, you know companies basically be independent and be able to sort of like, you know have goodwill and badwill, kind of like sort of mechanics towards each other, or so that kind of thing, and maybe like standings, um between each other, that kind of thing, like. But that kind of starts to feel a little bit more like it's going more towards the realms of, like, say, EVE Online or not. I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, but yeah, the thing that always kind of the thing that always irks me about uh the faction side of things is the kind of the mention of when they were when they were sort of showcasing factions as a new thing in New World. before the actual launch of the game. One of the standout kind of things about why factions is a good thing is because if you're in a faction, you'll always have somebody in that faction to have your back, right? But if the situation occurs that you're caught in a one versus many PvP scenario, and the person going past you, or the person in your faction, who's nearby that can render assistance to you, isn't flagged up, then he ain't helping you. Like, he has to go all the way back, or whoever it is has to go all the way back to a settlement to flag up before coming back to help you. And at that particular, with that amount of time taking place in order to come and render assistance, even if he's on the same faction, you're dead. You're just dead. Like, and then when that person turns up to help, they're dead as well. So it's like, I kind of feel like at least in that sort of that frame of reference, the faction system just does not work. And if we just ditched it and we had individual companies making allegiances with other companies, in a sort of a de facto kind of way, that would be more nuanced and more interesting, I think, than just having 3 factions. I don't know how you feel about that, Ace, but like that's my take. That's my feeling about it.
Like, I'm always for giving a bit more control to the players. Let them make the decisions of who they're allied with. I think that would make things a bit more dynamic and force a little bit more organic politics, and less, there'd be a lot less internal faction hate.
Yeah.
Where, like, there's companies on just about every server that own a territory that most of the people in their faction are like, if we could, we'd kill them.
Yeah.
But we can't. Which says
or
a lot
in
about
some
that
way, shape, or
company,
form.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I when it comes to sort of like when it comes to a bad fact or a bad company owning a territory that isn't providing that particular territory, or that particular the people who benefit, or people who live out of that particular settlement, if they're in charge of that settlement, and that settlement is basically being wasted away, like, one of the things that I think should be very powerful in this scenario is if you have a house in a particular territory. And I think if you have a house in a particular territory, you should have a lot more say in whether that's being governed well or whether that's not being governed well, and should be able to enact change in that. Because I think if you've purchased a house in a particular territory, you've bought into the stake of that particular settlement being good or not being good.
Yeah.
And I think there should be power to the individual player who owns a house there, that can make or break whether a company that owns that particular territory holds that particular territory.
Now,
I don't know. That's
the other side of things, and this is playing off a chat here. The benefits of owning a territory should impact all company members, not only the governor and consuls. Frankly, if you own a territory and it's making decent money, like Everfall or Windsward, and they're not helping the members, leave. Like, because frankly, they're just not a good company. Like,
imagine
at
if
that point, you're
companies
just
had shares,
exploited
like,
labor.
Can you imagine if companies had shares and you basically accrued shares? Like, it's a zero-sum game in terms of shares. There's only a certain amount of shares, and that gets redistributed by the amount of based on the amount of like stuff you did to benefit the territory
Mhm.
each, say, I don't know, each week or each month. I don't know. Month might be too long. Each week maybe. That might be interesting. And then like, wealth distribution happens, and it gets basically wealth is distributed based on the amount of, the kind of the amount of share, the percentage share amount of shares that you have from the of the company. I don't know. That's it. That's super geeky, and like definitely not definitely not something that I just thought about like 30 seconds ago or whatever. But I don't know. There might be something there. Is what I'm saying, to maybe redistribute wealth a little bit better around the people in particular factions or a particular company, rather than just it all going to the to the consoles and the the owner, as it were. But yeah, shall we move on to something a little less kind of like heavy, and more in terms of like interesting stuff that's coming up?
Yes.
How about
So
that?
let's talk a little bit about Brimstone Sands.
Yeah, we could do.
Um,
Uh,
there is
there was
more that
yeah.
has been kind of released about Brimstone Sands. For those that don't know, in the beta, um, there were multiple times where individuals managed to break through the walls and go and visit things they shouldn't have been able to see. These zones were at the time very incomplete, very empty. But we have a number of pictures. So going to showcase some of this.
Okay.
There it is. So here's some of the areas, and we'll save one of the better ones for last here. You can tell, obviously, hey, it's going to have a little bit of a, little bit of a desert type theme. A lot less, kind of lush, environment than most other territories.
I think if you weren't expecting desert territories from or deserts sort of features from an area called Brimstone Sands, then I don't know. I think you weren't. It's not a case of you were like thinking, oh, people are reading a little bit between the lines, but like you're not reading between the lines there. It's in the name.
Um, Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is that this is also very old. This is not
Yeah.
likely what it looks like now, and it's probably not complete compared to
No.
what's closer to
It's very
done.
sparse in terms of vegetation. I'm sure like a lot of the vegetation there are like first pass kind of vegetation, not final pass stuff, and probably a lot of the features were sort of very rough, as it were. And
So this one here is likely a point of interest. Seems to be rather large statues and kind of a coliseum type look. So this may be something important.
maybe
Um,
definitely looks ruinous in some way, shape, or form. Maybe pyramid-esque. I don't
Now,
know.
that said, it
There
also
has
looks very incomplete, and it's taken from
Yeah.
a very far distance. So
yeah.
yeah,
There could be some range. There could be some distance clipping going on as well. Obviously, if you have like somebody, perusing around in areas of the map that is, very much under development, very much not fully, very much, with features that aren't actually done yet. Things are going to look a lot more different when they're actually completed. But yeah, if you want to check that out, like there is a guy called Sanji NW or Sanji New World, who posted a Reddit thread that had a good collection of information from that, which is really cool. There was in other interesting Reddits. submissions, as it were. Professor Birch on Reddit gave us all up a heads up on the, if you didn't realize it, there is a change coming to the meta, a shift of the meta, the sort of like weapon and armor meta, and this is coming with obviously with the revisions of all the equipment and weapon perks coming in the next major patch. Incoming as to, we're not sure like what that ETA is, but it's soon. There's a lot of interesting comments in that particular Reddit thread as to what people potentially would be shifting to, what they're running now, that kind of thing. But yeah, like if you've taken a break and you're kind of like coming back and you're wondering as to how the meta may be shifting up, that they'll probably give you some good insight as to what's going on. When the greatsword, the greatsword is listed as becoming in the autumn, or in the fall.
So
For
I'm
you
I'm
US
gonna
guys,
guess
it's
the
probably
same time Brimstone
Brimstone.
Sands launch.
Yeah,
And to put a kind of timeline on things, because we know that they have a Halloween event, we know that they have a Thanksgiving event, and we know that they have a winter event. Launching Brimstone Sands needs to be kind of its own little fanfare. So that leaves a month for bug fixing after I would assume we're getting probably next Tuesday. We'll get our patch for releasing Barnacles and Black
yeah,
Powder.
if all goes well,
And the
I
Summer Medley
imagine.
Fair. And then I think we're going to get a month of patches and fixes. And I think we're either looking at August or September.
Mm. Well, for Brimstone, or for
Possibly
the
October at the latest. For
for
Brimstone
Brimstone?
Sands. Yeah.
Wow,
Which
I
will
would have thought
likely
that would
also
be
include
later than that.
the release of the Greatsword.
Yeah, I expect the Greatsword to be coming with Brimstone, to be completely
Yeah.
honest. That makes sense. But yeah, that'll be interesting. That is sooner than I thought. In actual fact, I thought the release of Brimstone would be later than that. So,
And we are
but
most of the way through
obviously
July at this point, so
sorry.
we are
Yeah,
most of the way
take it
through
with a
July
grain of
at this
salt.
point, so
Grain of salt.
yeah. I mean, it's for all we know, it could come out in December. So like, yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you know what the expectation is. Like when a publisher or a developer kind of says like, oh yeah, it's going to be coming out in 2024, right? And people
Everybody
kind of go,
assumes
oh cool,
January
what, like
1st,
sort of
2024. Any
yeah.
day later than that, and it's late.
Yeah, but it will be like, oh yeah, well it's coming out like the 1st of January 2024. No, it's going to be coming out the 31st of December 2024, like the latest it can potentially be. But like if Brimstone Sands is coming earlier than I expected, then that'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And we've been talking about
that'd be
Brimstone
really, really
Sands for
good.
a year, so like I'm pumped for
Yeah.
it to come out.
Yeah, it has been on the cards for a while, but then again, like we were sort of, I think our first kind of talk about it was like it being like data mined out.
Mhm.
So it's not like they
Now
released
we know a
information
few
about it.
things about it as well. So like for instance, the
Yeah.
Barnacles and Black Powder expansion comes with a bunch of stuff. It comes with an expedition. The Brimstone Sands is also going to come with an expedition. We already know what it's named. We already know like most things about it. Like all of those things have been data mined to shit. Like
There's
we
also
know
information about like new items and stuff like that, the new usable items and usable materials and stuff coming out from it. That's been data mined. Whether that is actual stuff that is happening or whether that is just stuff that ATS put in there as a fun little thing to be like, oh, this will throw them off the scent sort of stuff. We don't know, but there is stuff that seemingly indicates that there are going to be new resources, like you're going to be able to utilize sand to do stuff with. I'm not sure as to what, but like I don't know. If you have sand, I imagine you could probably make sandstone, or maybe you could potentially use the sand to make sandpaper. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
I think that would be
But
like, I think it would actually be kind of nice to be able to make the reagents instead of having to find them all over the place, like from
yeah, that
crates.
would be useful.
Like it's nice to get them as a supplemental thing, but like it would also be kind of cool to just be able to get them, or be able to make
It,
them if you have the skill to.
it would also be a boost to crafting as well, like be a boost to just
Yes.
to the utility of crafters as well.
Yes. Um,
Um, yeah,
give crafters a break and let them kind of do what they want to do. Then again, I
yeah,
can
very
see
much
somebody
so.
standing out in the middle of the desert collecting sand all day. You know,
just literally shoveling sand, like
yep.
just this.
Nothing to see here. Just trying to get my high quality sand.
Yeah. Uh,
So,
I think
but the changes that are coming up here, the meta is going to be shifting with this new patch.
yeah.
There's a lot of perks on weapons and armor that until recently just weren't used because they just weren't quite valuable enough, or they weren't.
Yeah, they were overshadowed essentially
Yeah.
by stronger perks.
But with the shake up to perks, just about everything that was considered best in slot will have a lot of competition for either needing to be changed out, or other types of builds that may be more effective and more viable based on the new stuff that's going to kind of emerge here.
Mm.
So yeah,
we apologize for the ads, but yeah, it is one of those things where it's Twitch.
I have
If you don't
my
like it,
hands are basically in my lap for the show, other than like
yeah,
on going for the mouse to like change scenes to show stuff. Like it's all automated. That's all Twitch. I apologize if you don't like seeing ads. What I can recommend is that you sub to the channel. If you sub to the channel, there are no ads.
that is true. If you do want to give a bit more kind of information to Amazon about ads as such, like you can also go to report playback issue, and then when you go to the drop down menu on notice a video playback issue, let us know. You can go down to like there's a bunch of advertisements, so advertisements played too many times would definitely be one. Like 10 adverts, Jesus, it's a bit much. That is a bit much.
I'm telling you,
If
it's
I
set
was,
up. It's all automatic. Like I'm not pushing the button
yeah,
or anything. Like
yeah. So
trust me.
we're not
If I was
forcing
pushing the
10
button,
ads on you.
I'd go dick around for 3 minutes. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Like we wouldn't be like in the middle of a cohesive point. We wouldn't be pushing a 3-minute ad break. Like yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
Twitch for you. How to
hopefully
ruin a good
Twitch
thing.
sees the light. Hopefully Twitch sees the light in that regard, and actually, dials it a little bit back and gives a little bit more control over to content creators like us to, put ads where we want ads to be as such, because that way we have more control over, putting ads where we want ads to be, and essentially removing ads basically like trampling all over our content when you guys want to be watching our content and not watching ads. So yeah. But moving on as such, there seems to be at least on Reddit, there seems to be a little bit more feedback about how people are bumping up onto the expertise system and not really liking that feeling. One of that being uh, being a fresh level 60 and going and playing OPR and just essentially getting destroyed day in and day out. And it's not being feeling like that you're practically forced to do this game mode in order to get gypsum, in order to get your orbs, in order to progress, kind of thing. yeah, people are kind of feeling, various different types of people. Obviously, the less hardcore people, the more casual kind of people. Because if you're fresh level 60, unless you've only recently grabbed the game, within the last few weeks or whatever, you're probably a more casual player. But hitting that level 60 and trying to kind of progress through that, it's just, yeah, it feels, it's the classic Pepe feels bad man scenario, right?
So the nice thing is, with the change in how they're running expeditions without orbs, you're going to be able to use expeditions to rapidly advance through the expertise system.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you, like I took a few weeks and got myself finally into 600 gear score, almost across the board now. But a lot of that has to do with just consistent effort with Gypsum and world tours, but also expeditions are huge. Like just running Genesis, there's one per boss plus a potential for one in every single elite crate. So like just running Genesis, there's like 6 chances or more.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So like that in itself, being able to run that on repeat over and over and over again without using an orb is going to mean that basically you're going to get a solid thing. I know for me, one of the things that I would prefer is that outpost rush caches should not be they shouldn't be a might drop an expertise bump. It should be a always drops at least one expertise bump.
Yeah.
That so there is a cap on how many expeditions you can run per week.
And per day.
And per day,
I believe.
I forget the exact numbers, but
it's on regular I believe regular regular expeditions you are capped per day, and on mutated
like 15
expeditions
of them,
you are capped per week.
Yeah, it's like 15 of them a day or something. Like it's an amount that like, and McLeod and I have talked about this in the past. It's at a number that it's not healthy to do that for much longer than that.
Anyways. Yeah, if you're maxing it out every single day, then this isn't a healthy thing for you to be doing. Like you should be touching grass a bit more than you are at the moment.
Or like go do some other content. Like go like after like 7 hours of running expeditions over and over again, go play some Outpost Rush or go like chop a tree down or like something. Like just touch grass. Like go outside for a walk, see the real world for a little bit. Like like I used to run in EVE Online. I used to run
is smoking a reefer touching grass? Is what I have to ask.
I mean, that'd be a type of grass, but
I mean, you're touching it while you're rolling it up, right? Like, I guess, I don't know. I thought maybe that might be something that was rattling in the minds of a few people watching, but just out of interest.
So like basically, it really is only going to impact the people who sell shards all day, and like and like the super hardcore, which again. There's other content to do, like run something other than expeditions. Go join a war, go join OPR, go do other stuff. Go to a bar, meet people in the real world. Like
no, because you can catch things. No, I'm only joking.
So anyways, like that's very much a thing. I think it's probably going to be the new meta for basically, for basically like power leveling your gear is to just take a day, run like, because if you think about it, you run Genesis and you get at least 6 bumps per run of Genesis. So 6 times 15, that is 90 bumps in one day. Of just running Genesis.
So that's, and so I don't want to. I know 90 bumps sounds amazing as well, and I don't want to just basically say like 90 bumps, that isn't enough. We need over 9,000 bumps a day, kind of thing. But like, I can't have this opportunity be there and not basically pitch for this particular kind of thing. But like, if at any particular chance or any opportunity that there might be a AGS dev that's watching this in some way, shape, or form at some point, could we please have, like, if you're doing cooldowns for stuff, like if you're doing cooldowns for in-game activities of some way, shape, or form, can we at least do weekly cooldowns rather than daily cooldowns? And I'm gonna say this again, and I'm sure anybody who's watched the show previously knows the kind of shtick that I'm about to say, the points that are coming. But if you have daily cooldowns, that basically punishes everybody who doesn't play daily. And the people who don't play daily are the people who have other priorities in life, and other dependencies in life. You have a job, you have kids, you have you have a significant other, that kind of thing, right? And if you are not able to do that, when you finally get the opportunity to be able to do that, you'll be capped at however much it is per day to do it for the 1 or 2 days that you're able to actually play New World. And that diminishes your capabilities or diminishes your ability to progress in the game, artificially, right? And that doesn't do that. That doesn't punish the people who play every single day, all day, kind of thing. Like, they are going to maximize that every single week. That the only people who are punished there are people who are more casual or are playing more casually because they have other things in their life. If you shift this, if you shift the cooldowns to a weekly basis, then when the person who has like all those dependencies and all of those things that they that get in the way of gaming, kind of thing, when they finally get to be able to play, they can play all of the content that they want to play, as much as they can on those 1 or 2 moments, or those 1 or 2 days, when they can actually play New World as much as they want. And so it's, if you shift it to weeklies, to weekly cooldowns after a set amount, all it does is open up the game to more casual players. It doesn't hurt people who play it all day every day, because they're still going to be maximizing the same amount of activity per week than they were going to do anyway. It's just you've shifted that cooldown to a weekly cooldown, rather than a daily cooldown. Like, and I don't think there's going to be a scenario where somebody is going to play a week's worth of particular content then in a single day. But at least you're not like, at least you're not artificially limiting the people who only play 1 or 2 days a week, in what they want to do in game. So yeah, that was my soapbox. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. So yeah.
So regardless, the new changes to removing orbs for expeditions is going to make this just infinitely easier, and with adding things like the expedition group finder, is just like, it's just going to make your life so much easier, especially when it's cross server, within the same region. Being able to queue up with more people is going to be,
that's going to be great. That's going to be an amazing quality of life, especially for casual players. Like, yeah, but
yes.
We can go so much further.
This also, like, talking about the expertise system kind of brings into something that I've said for a very long time, and the title of this thread is "Being a Fresh 60 in OPR is the least fun I've ever had in a video game."
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah, it is a
Sorry,
fact.
it's so true. Here's the thing. I spend most of my time as a base caretaker. I go around, I cut trees down, I slap rocks, I kill wolves, and I build stuff. But in order to do that, you have to be able to kill the NPCs. As a fresh level 60, you take many more hits to kill the NPCs in Outpost Rush than a 625 gear score player.
Yeah.
You deal a substantial amount less damage. It is not just the raw skill of, oh, I can dodge better because I've got more experience when I'm 625. You deal a raw damage output substantially higher than 620 than the fresh level 60s. Just reality. If anybody doesn't think that's the case, please feel free to go start up a new character, get it to 60, and see how much you enjoy the fresh level 60 experience in OPR. It sucks hard.
Yeah, it's not a fun thing at all.
Now, hopefully, something changes on this. Do we know what that's going to be? No, but I really hope something changes on this.
I think the easiest thing would be gear score scaling, but or at least expertise scaling. But
yeah.
no.
For OPR, it would be great if everybody was scaled up to 625 gear score and everything for the duration of the match, and then at the end of the match, their gear score goes back normal. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm very much of the frame of mind that when you're talking about game modes that are instanced, and so they don't adversely affect the persistent world in New World. They are by extension and in effect they are much more casual mode, right? They are not they're not open world PvP, they are not wars, that kind of thing. They're not affecting things inside of the persistent world, as it were. To my mind, that is more casual, and because of that, we should have gear score scaling or expertise scaling in some way, shape, or form for that. That's how I kind of feel.
There's always going to be the difference between what perks you bring in with you on your gear.
Yeah.
That's going to make things very different. Because if you come in with a full light set with full resilient and a bunch of extra health on various things, you're probably going to do pretty well. But if you come in with fresh 60 with a bunch of green gear, you're gonna have a rough fucking time. Because you're not coming in with the perks.
Yeah, you are. It's. I mean, is there a level worse than rough?
Yeah.
Because that's what that will be. It'll not be rough. It'll be a meme. That's what it'll be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we all know what meme that is. But yeah,
everything's fine.
No, I was thinking of a different meme there, but okay.
Yeah, and of course, one of the other challenges is this higher end gear, like the legendaries and the the 625 gear. You're gonna be able to get your attributes up to a meaningful amount. Being able to run a 300 200 level character, where you have meaningful amounts of attribute points more. Imagine this: you're a fresh level 60, you just got green gear that's all 500 gear score, or 510 gear score, or whatever you start at. You're still gonna have a really rough fucking time dealing with dealing with somebody who has effectively 110 extra attribute points than you do, just because their gear is better than yours. So, yeah.
Exactly. And so hopefully, I mean, hopefully that does change. Hopefully that experience gets better, because of changes and iterations on, that whole kind of system. But all we can do is, you know, um, make a note of it and showcase it when additional uh, player experiences show themselves on on various different platforms like Reddit. I think the only other thing was that a lucky Eternum survivor saw another ghostly appearance of a ship.
Yep, the ghost ship
Yeah.
still exists.
It does
For
still
those that
exist.
haven't seen it, it's up on screen now. It's a rare sight. It is. It only.
I've yet to see it. I've
It
yet
does.
to see
It
it.
does
Have you
not
seen it?
happen consistently in the same spot, and it does not generally happen every night. So you have to kind of be looking for it in the right spot.
Yeah. I've been in that area so often. I've never seen the ship. I've never seen the ghost ship. I don't know whether you have, A's, but I've never.
I've seen it, and it wasn't there. I saw it in
Yeah.
a different spot.
Oh, okay.
It's much further north from there. So yeah, there's a bunch of really cool stuff that is kind of hidden in the game that are rare occurrences. Some of it's just visual, but there's always these hidden mysteries in the game.
I'm sure. I'm sure those mysteries will be expanded upon in due time. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was pretty much everything that we have in terms of New World news as such this week.
Yes, that does wrap up the New World section. I want to take a moment. If you guys haven't, please hit the follow button. It doesn't cost you anything. If you thought we earned it, or you're getting tired of ads because Twitch is just fucking ad hungry, then feel free to hit the subscribe button. If you have that free Amazon sub Prime, Prime sub, like feel free to hit us up with that. If not, please make sure to use it on somebody. You get one every month if you have Amazon Prime.
Talking about Prime, I got a few things on Prime Day as such.
Oh yeah.
One of them was another 16 gig of memory, so I've now got 32, and I'm getting this as well, which is really nice. It's actually a hell of a lot better than I expected it to be honest. Lovely.
I got a variety of different things on Prime Day. I got I'm gonna have to go on my Amazon to find all the random shit.
All the random stuff that you ended up purchasing. For
those that don't know, I work in emergency management, so like it's not uncommon for me to respond to the scene of things. It's also disaster preparedness is very much a thing of mine, and over Prime Day, I acquired a certain select group of items that basically is a nuclear radiation kit, like full on Geiger counter, the whole works. Iodine tablets, and the only thing I couldn't get that I'll have to find another way to source it is Prussian blue. But they don't generally let that out in the public.
I was about to say,
because in the right doses, it helps you deal with radiation poisoning. In the wrong doses, it's poison.
Exactly.
So naturally, yeah. And now keeping in mind, like I work in emergency management, so having things like that is actually, work related.
Yeah.
I mean, but I also got some other stuff. Like I managed to get a Coleman camping tent. That was supposed to be $200. I got it for like $80. So like Prime Day was pretty baller on that front.
Yeah, I did want to say, like, to some degree, on the Prussian blue thing, it being a poison, so is alcohol. You have too much alcohol, it will poison you. Like, there's a reason why if you have There's a reason why they call it alcohol poisoning, and there's a reason why when that occurs, you get your stomach pumped in hospital, because if they let that the rest of that alcohol go through your system, you die. Like,
So
you know,
the other thing that you generally don't want to have Prussian blue. Like, it's not really something that you really want to take if you don't actually really need it.
no, I'm not saying people are
like-
taking, like, people would take Prussian blue, you know, like, socially.
Yeah.
Like,
So like, basically, yeah, it's something that I kind of want to have on hand, but like, again, that's a very specific niche thing, for the type of work that I do. So
yeah.
without going into that anymore, yeah, I'm probably one of the few people that you know that owns a Geiger counter. You know, the radiation
It's good
detection
to know.
device.
Although, to be fair, I think from a doomsday scenario, the people who I know in America, I'd have to travel fair distance around America to be able to collect everything that I need, or collect the people that I need into a cabal of people that can really defend themselves
Yeah.
and know what the fuck's going on.
I'm also probably, so there's a few things, like, I do a decent amount of like disaster prep. I got a few things that most people wouldn't or normally shouldn't have. So like, I have a full-on rebreather. Like, you know, the doomsday hits, I've got a full-on Tyvek suit, you know, rebreather, you know.
When you say rebreather, what do you mean by that? Like, you don't mean
Yeah,
like
I have my own oxygen.
an aqualung?
Yeah, like, an actual, like, you know, I have my own oxygen. I can get in my car and drive for a significant distance without breathing external air.
Oh, okay. So I've always wondered about like having one of those small kind of like aqualung kind of breather sort of things in a car, just in case of, you know, unfortunate scenario accident where, you know, you end up driving into a lake or driving into a body of water, right?
yeah,
And the
they're not a
scenario
bad
is
thing.
that, like,
They're not a bad thing to like to have until basically your
Yeah.
car equalizes the pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
But it would probably, like, the challenge is that it's got to be someplace that you can get to it before, you know, before you can actually like die, or before you die from, you know, asphyxiation.
Well, the idea is it would be in like the glove compartment of the car,
Yeah.
right? So it would be
Yeah.
there. That'd be how have it.
You know, like, as long as you know where it is and you can get to it rapidly, the thing there is like, is it gonna save you, or would it be better to have a glass hammer, you know, like a hammer that's built with a metal tip point, that's designed to blow out the window?
I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of Last Action Hero, where, like, why would you have a glass hammer if you're in America when you can just fill your glove compartment with guns?
You know, I mean, that's always an option. You know, you do want to be able to, like, because window, like, glass on a car actually doesn't break the way most people think it does. Like, most people think that glass just shatters and will get out of your way, right?
I've seen movies; it definitely does.
The car glass is actually designed to shatter and stay together. So like, it will shatter, but like, if you've ever seen somebody like fall into a windshield and shatter the windshield, it kind of stays as a sheet.
Yeah. It's kind of like two layers of glass in between, like a clear sort of like plastic layer.
Yeah. So like,
kind of thing.
although it breaks, it may take, several, breaking out multiple areas to actually get a chunk broken away from the window to get out.
Okay.
So little known things. Yet another thing that I have in my car. Hey, thanks for the sub.
Yeah, you're getting all the Doomsday Prepper kind of information and you know how to safely navigate outside of a car, filled with water, that kind of thing. It's useful information, and I'm glad that Back Addict sees that the value of that with the Prime membership. Thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, there's all kinds of really cool stuff that you can get for like disaster preparedness. I was, for instance, like pre-COVID, I was one of the few people that had N95s and N99s laying around. And it wasn't just because like, I have other hobbies, like, because I don't really have any other hobbies. It was more so that, hey, like, as a preparedness thing, N99s or N95s that most people use, 99s are basically just, they don't let much of anything through other than, air.
It's like trying to breathe through rubber.
Pretty much. They're pretty rough. Like if you think breathing through an N95 is rough, N99s have some serious resistance. But at the same time, you're not breathing in, like it'll pull chemicals out of the air. So very, very useful stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I got all kinds of fun stuff that most people from a disaster preparedness side of things just wouldn't think of. Yeah.
But when your job is disaster readiness and that kind of stuff, you have a bit more knowledge as to what's required to to be able to deal with these sort of scenarios, these sort of situations. So yeah, you're gonna have certain things that other people don't have, like a Geiger counter, for God's sake.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like let's say I'm I live in the DC area. I'm technically trained in emergency medical response and a bunch of other things. So if a bomb were to go off, I'm I want to make sure that I'm checking for safety, and because it's the DC area, like one of the bigger risks out there is of course like dirty bombs, which is always a huge risk, and what people don't understand about them is it's not about what the bomb does in the first place, it's about secondary casualties, where like exposure to the results of a dirty bomb can kill you, can kill way more people than anything else.
The initial blast,
like the initial blast might kill a couple of people. Like let's say it goes off in a shop, kills 10 people. 40 people show up as part of the emergency response. No one's got a Geiger counter to determine that, hey, this is actually a radiological site. Like, and all of a sudden, all 40 of those people are probably going to die from radiation poisoning. So, like, that's the kind of thought process that I go into it with. Of all I got to do is pop this thing out of the container and go, I'm fine, put it back in, and I'm good to go.
Yeah. But just off chat, I don't want to get all macabre or very insensitive about this, but like there's very little preparation or like readiness that you can do for a plane coming at you at like several hundred miles an hour, or an entire building falling on top of your face. Like there's very little mitigation.
A few things.
There's a very little mitigation that you can do in that regard.
Like understanding, when a fire alarm goes off, like, and this is one of the dumbest things ever. Understanding that when a fire alarm goes off, get the fuck out of the building. Like,
yes.
This sounds stupid, but like, don't assume it's a test.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And like that in itself is actually a huge factor, especially if you work in a building and you're on like the 85th fucking floor and you've got to hoof it down 85 floors. It sucks. Like I feel bad for you, but like, if shit happens, you want to get down and out before, smoke is filling the stair shaft.
I mean, there's very few instances where you're going to have rope long enough to be able to rappel down the side of a building of that height. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna probably get to the end of the rope before you get to the floor.
Yes.
So yeah,
Or
'Cause
your
that was
rope
the
is
other
going
thing
to
I was
get
thinking,
caught
like
on the
maybe you
window,
could go
or
off the side.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like the reality is, like, there are things you can do to prepare for stuff like that. Obviously, like if it, like 9/11, if it hits the floor you're on, like it's a fucking 747, like, like getting hit on a motorcycle with a, with the fucking semi truck, like,
Yeah.
there's no mitigating that aspect of it. But from a construction side of things, there's ways to mitigate, the tower coming down, and those kind of things. Anyways, moving away from that, let's talk. We're gonna jump into another topic here. We're gonna start talking about Lost Ark, because we moved into the Lost Ark channel, and I'm sure that there are people that joined in
They were like,
what the
they
fuck are these
talking
guys
about?
on about? Yeah. So
I just yeah. I
Yeah.
wanted to mention that in chat.
Oh yeah, and it's a good time. Like, if anybody's interested in emergency management as a career, and you live in the U.S., please feel free to reach out to me. Like, come chat on Discord. I'll give you some ideas. If you're in college and you're looking for ways to pay for college, I may have ideas as well. Again, you got to live in the U.S., but that's a whole different story. But yeah, so let's talk Lost Ark. So
Yeah.
Lost Ark, the patch that we've been waiting for, is finally out. Came out today. It includes the Arcanist, which is a new class, works based on cards. Kind of a Gambit-esque character. This is also going to have the Voltan Legion Raid Inferno difficulty, which is going to be pretty awesome. There's a few key differences between the normal, hard, and Inferno difficulties. Scale of balance is applied, and the raid requires the use of Book of Coordination, so everyone's gear is normalized against the level of your Legion commander opponent. The gate progression system will not be active. You can't make it halfway and come back later in the week. So like that's very much a thing. There's so many ways to make gold in Lost Ark. So many. There's selling stuff, but like just running your daily dungeons. Like you'll get the gold rooms in there. And running every week, you can run the abyssal dungeons, which are basically several hundred gold every time you complete them. And once you get some gold from doing some of these other things that generate gold without having to put money in, then you can start selling stuff. I too think it's kind of a pain in the ass that selling stuff costs gold, because it's like I'm trying to make gold off of what I'm trying to sell, but I can't sell it because I don't have any gold on hand. It gets frustrating. I know the feeling. I've got 9 characters now.
I mean, the idea of having a cost in terms of gold is to prevent people from using the marketplace as a way to either trade or transfer items from one person to another using ridiculous market orders. Or
are you running a high enough level abyssal dungeon? Because you should should let you get gold from it on completion.
Yeah.
Like if you're continuing to run the first 2, then and you're like level tier 3, then you're probably not getting any gold off of it anymore. You gotta run the higher level ones, which incidentally also drop more gold.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're not as difficult, or they're more difficult. But yeah. So the other thing is Inferno mode will not count against your weekly attempt limit for Legion raids. So you can play Voltan on normal and hard and Inferno in the same week. And you can try Inferno as many times as you would like. Yeah, there are a lot of systems in Lost Ark. A lot of horizontal content. Yeah. Apparently we're hackers. News to me.
Hey, you know, if we look like hackers, fair enough, cool. I'm down with that. But yeah.
So some of the other stuff coming is the Maharaka Festival in the Water Pop Arena.
Oh, this feels so. This feels so very Korean.
Let me showcase this here. Let me make sure the audio is on.
To the battlefield? We'll cool off at Water Pop Arena. Beat the heat and your friends in this PvP pool party blowout. Cause it's always fun in the sun with a water gun, the Water Pro Mark 1 and 2. Serial shots, multi-shots, and water bombs. You're so armed to the gills, you might as well be a fish. Hope you can swim like one. Wipe out. It's sink or swim in this battle royale. It's a special summer event in Arcasia at Water Pop Arena.
It's like, hang on, is this an ad? No, it's not.
Kind of a ridiculous thing, but that's the summer event for Lost Ark. Like I kind of looking forward to it. Again, they aim for a little bit more on the ridiculous side when it comes to their events.
Yeah, and I think the narrator on that particular that particular I don't know, you call it an ad, like a video, I guess. It is more, it's more towards the like the younger audience rather than maybe us as such. But yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's one of the main things coming out. Kind of a pool party based event, limited time. And of course, coming from a Korean studio, Smilegate, it really is. They're obviously going to have some pretty good fun with stuff like that. Getting your water gun upgraded and progression through the event is actually going to help you out pretty significantly. And there's also some changes to the store and skins that they're going to be releasing. Which I'm going to scroll past the a lot of important stuff to get to that. Basically, the Midsummer's Night Dream skins are coming out, and basically it's bikini season and beachwear season. So they are about as ridiculous as it sounds. The Lover and Youth skins are also a thing. And they're also coming out with instrument skins that are all themed around kind of an ocean theme.
I'm just saying, if this is westernized skins, I would be interested to see what the Korean styled skins are.
So some of the weapon skins that are coming out are actually like pretty ridiculous. Like
actually, that's really
what? Like basically a sword that's an orca whale.
You're gonna literally free willy somebody.
Yep. there's a blow up hammer somewhere. I don't know that it was released in this particular image or set of images, but there is a blow up hammer that will be out there for the destroyer. Functionally, like they really do kind of go crazy with the skins.
It's one thing that you can guarantee from a Korean company is, skin wise, they're gonna do some ridiculous stuff.
Like you can get a starfish pet, pet skins that include a pirate starfish, which yeah.
I mean, it's that moment where you're sort of like.
And it's like all of that also has to mesh with this artwork.
Can we all take a moment to think, to realize that, like, at some point, a group of people sat down very seriously around a table and discussed, like, the stylistic elements that go towards a pirate starfish.
Yeah.
And the size of shades that needed to go on a like cool guy starfish. It's, oh, Korea never change. Never change. It's just, oh.
Yeah. And of course, like their skin variants go from this, like the more like serious, kind of, in my opinion, a little bit over the top, draconian theme, kind of high fantasy, to like the truly ridiculous, kind of seasonal stuff, to bikini babes and and like speedos for the guys. Like there's no shame in this game. Like it's literally like whatever you want. Like they go directions with the skins in this game, is what I'm trying to say. They really just kind of do whatever the hell they feel like.
It very much is the case.
Yeah. That's the thing, and of course you can dye all of these skins and change them different colors and do whatever you want, and I'm sure people will find creative ways of making these even more a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
even more eye-catching, I guess, would be the word.
Yeah.
Or
so
phrase.
Some of the other stuff coming. The challenge abyssal dungeons, similar to the challenge guardian raids, are on their way. So this is going to be, this is going to be another like really kind of cool thing to have, kind of challenge you against harder level enemies for even better rewards. They're also adding in a number of progression events. So with this update, introduces 2 new progression events. The Punica Power Pass. This is the first one, which basically, if you've completed Punica, you need to complete all of the purple quests in Punica as well, otherwise you don't get it. I apparently missed a couple of those quests, so I'm a little bit pissed right now that I've got to figure out which ones I need to do. And you can instantly get a new character all the way into tier 3. Boom, done. It's a thing. From there, there's the Hyper Express event that allows you to accelerate a character from gear score 1302, which this pairs well with the Punica Power Pass, to 1370, which basically enables you to get higher end content, not the like super top end content. But this will get you, into gear appropriate for reasonably good content. You still have some grind to do, but like between the two of these, you can get a fresh character pretty highly leveled within a couple of days.
There's plenty of content there to sort of to get you to get your teeth into between 1370 and where you need to be for the higher level content. Like it's not like. Now, it's not like there is a kind of a desert of actual kind of content. There's loads of content there for you.
Yes. Now the other kicker here is that, of course, if you have not completed one character into tier 3, the Punica Power Pass will just kind of sit there and it'll wait until it's active. However, they've also started selling power passes. So basically, if you don't want to do the grind, hey, thanks for the sub. if you don't want to do the grind, you don't have to. You can just power pass your character into tier 3, and just do the tier 3 grind. That's very much a thing. It's very it's a pretty cool thing to be able to skip. It's not inexpensive. Putting that out there. There are other in-game methods of progressing that are, in my opinion, not as fast, but certainly don't cost near the amount of money. So I wouldn't fully recommend buying the power passes, because frankly it's just easier to just level the characters. It may take a little longer, but at least you get a sense of accomplishment with it. But again,
don't use that phrase. Don't use that phrase.
Well, it's better. It's better than buying it.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
I feel great that I have 9 characters that are all in tier 3. Yeah. I ground every single one of them to get there. It was hard work, but I did it.
Yeah.
Now, there are times where I was sitting there going, fuck, this is stupid, and I was very upset about certain mechanics, but it is what it is. There have probably been some times that I would have thrown $20 at it to skip some shit, because there was one time where I redid Yorn 4 times in one day for the storyline part, and I fucking had it with the game. I logged off at the end of the night and I'm like, fuck, this is stupid. But I was back at it the next day, so kind of is what it is. There's also, for new players, there's kind of a new welcome challenge series of missions with a new Makoko challenge. It's basically to help people bring them back into the game, get characters through tier 1 and tier 2. There's a number of buffs associated with it. They also are going to have growth support buffs. Basically it's going to be kind of pushing characters through through tier 1, tier 2, increasing the success rates on a lot of those things. They've increased the success rate with the tier 1 growth support. They've increased to 100% success rate when honing tier 1 gear from level 1 to 15, which is basically that's all of it. You'll never roll a no on that. Double level ups when honing tier 1 gear at 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, which means basically they're cutting it in half and eliminating the no progression, or failure to get the honing. The required honing XP is being reduced by 20% when honing tier 1 gear from level 1 to 15, which is another huge one. Basically this is similar for tier 2 as well, where they're increasing the success rate for tier 2 to 100% all the way through 15, doubling the power up levels, or doubling level ups when honing at the same levels mentioned before. Required honing XP is reduced by 15% instead of 20%, so it's going to be a little bit longer of a grind. Trying to think of another focus-based weapon to answer the question in chat.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. I feel like it should be an elemental weapon.
Rapier might actually be a decent match with depending on how you build it. So honing breakthrough cost reduced by 100% when honing tier 2 gear from level 1 to 15. So again, basically this is a huge buff to getting through tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 3, this is where things are going to get even better. Basic success rate increased by 20% when looting honed tier 3 item level 302 or 1302 gear score from level 1 to 15. So basically, they're not eliminating the chance, but it's going to be a little bit slower or a little bit faster, a little bit more likely to be a success. The required honing breakthrough materials and cost reduced by 50% when honing tier 3 item level 1302 gear from level 1 to 15, and tier 3 honing cost decreased 30% gold decrease and 50% gear XP decrease. So you're going to be able to advance further and faster through tier 3 than ever before. They've added a new daily login reward track. They've added new preventions to deter gold sellers. This is a whole number of things. I'm not actually going to go into what they've changed for that. But they've a whole list of things that they've made gold sellers much more difficult to do. They've added a jukebox for strongholds, so you can pick the music, and you can kind of like go out and find music. We already mentioned all of the crazy skins coming out, which again are like just bonkers ridiculous. We mentioned earlier that they are going to release power passes. And let me open Steam here. I'm going to go to my purchases here to double check this.
Oh, okay.
So to put this into reference on cost for these power passes, in Lost Ark you can buy 5,750 royal crystals for $50. Don't ask how I know that. Other than I pulled up my purchase history and I wanted to buy skins. It's sue me. So anyways, if you want to jump straight to Punica, a Punica pass will cost 3,300 royal crystals. Or wait. Oh, okay. It'll actually be based on where your character's kind of made it to. So like from the start, like if you want to instant power pass your character to Punica tier 3, keeping in mind you have to have already had a character that has made it to and through tier 3 through the Punica content, it will cost you 5,500 which is basically $50.
Okay.
To instantly level that character. Now, if you want to run the content and if you get a character, for instance, all the way through Rowendell questline, the Punica Power Pass will instead cost 3,300. So kind of reduces the price if you want to put in a little bit more work. But you may hit kind of a roadblock where you're like, screw this grind. And it may be worth let me do some wink wink nudge nudge type stuff. In order for you to get to between tier 1 and tier 2, you need to grind your gear score up to the 15 on each. And you can skip tiers by using a power pass that is in the next tier. So for instance, Yorn is tier 2. If I were to power pass my character after making it through the initial storyline to tier 2, I would skip tier 1 altogether without having to touch my gear score and just run a dungeon in tier 2 or a couple of chaos dungeons, and I'll be fully geared in tier 2 equipment. I can then skip to Punica from there and skip the grind after completing the Yorn storyline. Skip the grind to tier 3. So
Interesting.
it's kind of one of those things where if you don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing it, there's some new ways of throwing money at the problem if you want to. Again, you don't have to. You can just do it like I do, and tier 1 and tier 2 materials for leveling your character are stupid cheap. Like we're talking like 1 gold per 10, and they can't get any lower. Versus like tier 3 stuff is where everybody's buying it and it's still expensive. Versus everything else is just a wash on the market. So yeah,
okay.
You got power passes as an option. They've added summer die packs, battle support item packages, etc., and a shitload of bug fixes. That should all be
that's a fair amount. There is a fair
should
amount
all be
there.
pretty solid to the game. Not too worried about what's in them, because the game has been out for 2 years prior to this, and like frankly, there's not a whole lot of like major bugs in the game. Yeah. So with that, that kind of covers our Lost Ark stuff for the week. I'd love to go into it more, but like the reality is we've kind of went through the patch notes for this multiple times because we saw it coming out a month ago. I think that hitting it any more than we have at this point would be kind of a disservice and kind of boring for you guys. So with that, again, for those that joined us for the Lost Ark section, please feel free to hit the follow, sub, like all those fun things. We really do enjoy having you guys here. We wouldn't do it without you guys. So past that, let's go talk about some Star Citizen stuff. So I know many of you guys are probably sitting here going, Star Citizen, that game's never going to come out. It's a scam. It's really not. At least it's the worst run scam possible.
You're talking about Scam Citizen, right?
Yeah, like Star Citizen has obviously been in development a long time. But
yes,
it's getting closer and closer, and every day we see more and more happening with the game. They do a lot to make sure that they showcase what they're working on, and that they actually really clearly discuss and communicate with the community what's going on, whether it be about Squadron 42 or whether it be about the actual MMO Star Citizen. It is a pretty intensive game, and they take it really seriously. So the first part of this is that they listen to the community really well. In the last year or so, there's been kind of a racing scene that's kind of taken more prevalence, and the Star Citizen developers noticed this. They saw the videos were starting to get a lot more larger scale interest from the community as a whole, and decided, hey, now's the time that should really consider actually adding in an actual circuit racetrack. So that's what they did. A developer has actually taken interest in this and decided, hey, let's take an area, we'll build out an actual race course, and it's a kind of fits with the derelict theme of the 3.17.2 patch, and all that. But it's a huge start to supporting it as a meaningful in-world event. Now, the other kicker with this is that they've also started to change server sizes. For the first time in a very, very, very long time, we are starting to see 100 player servers. And I know I'm jumping around on the notes.
Yeah, you are, which is concerning because then I will just start going over random shit. But yeah, okay, carry on.
And mostly it's because like being able to run an event like that is huge. Like, you know, imagine you get 100 people out there, all that have their own, their own Drake Dragonflies, or other racers. Like that's gonna be a lot of fun. So I wanted to kind of pitch that as kind of a cool thing. But let's talk about the PTU. Not to bounce around too much here. I'll go back to where I should have continued on. So the PTU, for those that don't know, 3.17.2 is kind of their stopgap patch before we get 3.18, which will start having the server meshing and persistent entity streaming involved. The end of this year is basically going to be some pretty intense shit for the servers, and they're really going to be starting to pump the numbers and starting to really make things work on a server side to turn the game from a 50, 100 person server type system to something that will qualify easily as a
massively multiplayer game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that said, they are pretty serious when it comes to their public test universe, and they push out a lot of updates.
Yes.
They're currently on. Since our last discussion, they have released PTU version M, at PTU version N, PTU patch O,
and P,
and P.
And that's all within the space of a week.
Yes. So like when you see like New World pushes, like they had 4 iterations on theirs in the time that it's been up, and it's been up for almost a month. Like it came up at the beginning of the month, so it's been up for 20 days, and they've got 4 revisions into it. They're at literally O. Like I don't even know where O is in the alphabet. Like I know it's like more than halfway through. So that's way more than 4 revisions.
It's about halfway through because I created a character in Eve that was designed purposefully to be middle of the A to Z pack, so that if anybody decides to, go A to Z or Z to A when it comes to sort of like designating targets to be killed, I would always end up being at the end of each of those.
Yes.
So, and that was a character that started with the letter O. So I know that for a fact.
Yep. So, the other side of this is that obviously there's been a bunch of fixes. There's no like crazy changes across these. They have made changes to things like the Nova tank getting a dramatic increase in health. The Ursa rover got a huge increase in health. They greatly increased railgun damage, which could change up some of the meta.
I mean, considering that you can walk around as a individual with a railgun on your shoulder, like that's always good, because then that means that like your ability as a lone soldier on the battlefield or on the or turning a corner, you have that great firepower capability with a railgun. So yeah.
So from there, the other big change is that in patch N, they officially released the PTU to all backers. So anybody who has put money in can play on the PTU, try out the new changes, try out the Siege of Orison, and a number of other like reclaimer outposts and derelicts in space.
There's all sorts of stuff. I think they have the Siege of Orison as a kind of like a temporary sort of like event inside of the PTU. as it were. So it happens every so often, but it's not something that is persistent. You can do it whenever you want, sort of thing. But you have to,
Yes.
you have to
Now,
wait for them to activate it.
a lot of the reason they're releasing this is that they're going to be able to run Xenothreat, Siege of Orison, Jumptown, what's the other one?
Nine Tails Lockdown.
Yes, Nine Tails Lockdown. All of these things, they'll be able to schedule, they'll be able to put them up, have people run them, have fun. There's a ton of content to be had there. That said,
Yeah.
don't expect 3.18, 3.19, and 4.0 to come with major new content additions. They may come with new ship additions, but don't expect them to come with major new content additions, unless you enjoy the cargo gameplay. Because that's about to get a major change.
The interesting thing about that is they may not come with interesting new content additions, but they'll be coming with interesting new interesting new mechanics and interesting new aspects of the game that may help pieces of content tie into each other and play a sort of sort of general sort of play styles come a little bit more into each other. So for example, we're talking about a persistent asset streaming, that kind of thing, means that it's more likely that you'll be able to potentially pirate things a lot better, for example, or you'll be able to get back and fight, essentially come back for round 2s and round 3s and round 4s with various different with groups and all that kind of stuff. And plus with the increase in terms of server capacity, you're getting more opportunity for multi-crew ships to go against other multi-crew ships. And so it's one of these things where, say for example, like we said, they've bumped the test server player cap to 100 rather than 50, I think it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it 50? I think it was 50.
Yeah, it was
right?
50.
And that in itself isn't a content update, but what it's an enabler. It enables people to it enables player interaction to occur and more player interaction to occur, and that in itself can be content, can spur content out of nothing. And so 3.18, 3.19 and 4.0 might not come with large amounts of developer generated content, but it may very well come with features that enable a lot of player content to to basically collide with each other, and that in itself generates content.
Absolutely.
That's what I have anyway with that.
Absolutely. As the server size increases, as the gameplay changes, the persistent entity streaming is added, where you blow up a cargo ship and all of a sudden now you have the opportunity to loot the field of cargo. There's potentially a lot of opportunity here for players to make money using piracy. There's potentials for just so much more. The game is going to have a lot more depth, or it has a lot of depth already, but is only getting better and better. Now's a good time to tell people, hey, if you're considering Star Citizen, use our referral code. Feel free to use that. You can use somebody else's if you want to, but it's there to help you. You get 5,000 UEC. Helps you start out with a little extra cash.
It's one of those things where maybe a little bit of extra cash doesn't sound like much, but when you don't have much cash at the start, an extra 5,000 is such a welcome relief. When you're starting out, and because you can make one mistake, and you could be down, like, say, a few hundred, maybe a couple of thousand alpha UC, and you could be in that situation where if you didn't have the additional alpha UEC from using a referral code, you might be stuck. You might be there, like, asking people in global chat as to if somebody can send you some not ISK, I'm not talking about, in global chat, asking if somebody can wire you some alpha UEC. So
Yeah. So I would classify Star Citizen more as like a military sci-fi. If you've ever seen like The Expanse, I would put it more in like that category than almost any other like space. There are alien races. They haven't really introduced them, but there's no like, it's not like how you would imagine, like,
it's
not like Star
40K.
Wars.
So it's not, and it's not like 40K, like that sort of thing. You don't have like
it's really cool. Like I highly recommend it. And so there's two things. The one thing I would really note, like right off the break, if you're gonna get into it, there's like a $60 starting or $45 starting pack. Get the starting pack that has a ship, but also has the Squadron 42 single player game in it too. Because like you want the Star Citizen, the online MMO, but like Squadron 42 is going to release before it, and it's going to be pretty good.
It's basically I feel like it's going to be kind of a bit more of a militarized, like, interactive expanse, like experience. Like, if you've watched The Expanse, the kind of like, it's more of, The Expanse is quite militaristic, but it's got this, has the kind of like the sort of yeah. Well, what's the kind of what's the sort of like the phrases, like the the underdog, right? So it's like an underdog sort of, it's always very much like a kind of an underdog sort of story. I kind of think that Squadron 42 is going to feel very much like a very cinematic kind of
Squadron 42 is probably going to feel a lot more
sort of thing.
It's going to feel a lot like Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
That's probably like that's the direction I would probably point it in. It's got its own lore. It's got a lot of big name actors that have been doing like the like face mapping and voiceovers for the game. So like Mark Hamill is in there. Like on a prior show we went through like all of them that are in there, but like there's a lot of well-known science fiction actors in that are going to be in the game. But like not just like they say they're going to be in the game, like we've actually seen them post about like, hey, like we've already done the motion capture with them.
Well, there's some video of some of them already, actually, already with mocap and all of that kind of stuff, like with the animations in and everything like that, like so it's not a case of like it's just conjecture as to if they're going to be in it. Like, they're definitely in it.
Yes.
So it's going to be really cool.
So aside from that, there's also the Arena Commander. Arena Commander is kind of the like single player, just kind of like let's fly around dogfight simulator, and it came up recently. And one of the devs confirmed that it is not the same AI as the normal online version of the game. It is actually easier in the Arena Commander to beat the AI than it is in the actual online game. So if you're looking for a place to practice, kind of get acquainted with your ship, that's a good way to do it. Aside from that, on the 17th, which was about 3 days ago, the distinction's important. Chris Roberts and Aaron Roberts were at an AUZ bar Citizen with a meet and greet night, and indicated the time frame for the 3.17.2 patch to possibly go live to the persistent universe. This is the like non-test universe, the actual like you're in the shit. Everybody's playing this as the live version.
It's the live version, but still the test version, but the test live alpha version of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the playable version, the normal playable version of the alpha that everybody understands to be just kind of the main game.
It's the version that if there's a free fly event, you'll be able to experience it. Like you don't have to throw money at the game in order to experience it at some point.
Yes. So they said 7 to 10 days, which really means at this point 4 to 7 days from today. So like 4 to 7 days, basically the end of this week. Probably like I don't see them launching on a Friday. Probably Monday, Tuesday.
Probably Monday. Between Monday and Wednesday, really. Maybe Thursday. You never know.
They also had a roadmap update, where they've shifted a ton of stuff around. They've added work, they've removed work from various things.
I was wondering how to read these, like, to be completely honest, and I don't know whether you want to like kind of school me on this or not, but like, for example, the deliverables updated. For example, there's a bunch of ones where it's like work removed. Obviously there's ones which are work added. But like I was looking at some of the work removed one, and it kind of looks like work removed because work's been completed, but it doesn't say work completed, it says work's removed, right?
So work,
for example,
so this
break
is
meal, work removed.
So this is project management speak here. So work removed means that there was a module that was being worked on, or planned to be worked on, that is no longer going to be worked on. Or is not required for the version that they're looking to get. So like AI janitor, for instance, work removed. It might be that they ditched working on that for this particular sprint, or that there was something in there that they don't feel that they need to do anymore, that was originally planned and allocated time and resources for. Now, you'll see stuff like end date extended, work added for chapter 2 and chapter 1 and 2 and various other chapters. Basically, end date extended means this project is going to take longer. We've added more work or more modules that need to be completed as part of this. So it's giving from a project management perspective, we've added time to the teams working on these, and the reason for that is they've added work. And yeah. One of the other ones is like
the other one is
player interaction experience T1 lockers and inventory. They've corrected the start date and they've removed some of the work. So there's some, basically it's a lot of just project management talk of like, here's how these things are coming along, and kind of what we're expecting. So the workload on these things has been easier than expected, and or like we've added more work to this, which means it's going to take a little bit more time. Like something came up that is going to take more time, or etc.
And as you can kind of see, like on those, like what I linked in chat, you can kind of see that there is obviously different icons with these sorts of things, and the sort of like the classic Star Citizen kind of icon is for the persistent universe. The kind of winged one with 42 is things that are specifically related to Squadron 42, and if there's both of them, then basically it's something that bridges between both of them. So obviously you have you have aspects of the game which all obviously always bridge across both of them because they are fundamental aspects of the game.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that they show the active number of devs and whether or not there are more or less of them working on any specific project. So for instance, you can see that the cargo system refactor now currently only has 3 devs working on it. That's an interesting thing. Yeah. The derelict spaceship's point of interest has 12, and the team is decreasing in size. So it means they're probably closing in on complete.
I'll tell you what has quite a lot of devs working on it.
Miscellaneous support, 52.
No, the chapter's being done.
Oh yeah.
Guess how many? Because I did a.
I'm gonna go with close to 100.
168.
Oh.
Yeah.
to put this into perspective, 168 developers on this is just on storyline chapters 1 through chapter 25. That means they have more developers working on the storyline, just the storyline of Star Citizen and Squadron 42 than EVE Online has developers
for the entire thing,
for the entire company. Like, putting that into perspective, for the people out there who are paying EVE Online subscriptions, I want you to understand your money is not going to EVE Online. Your money is being taken and used for Hilmar's pet projects. Because this is what you can do when you actually appropriately allocate resources and use proper project fucking management.
Yeah.
And I will rake CCP Games over the goddamn coals every goddamn day for it, especially since they felt the audacity to increase the sub price for EVE Online.
Yeah.
While having a comically small team. To put this in full perspective, CIG, the developers of Star Citizen, have almost 600 staff working on Star Citizen and Squadron 42. Squadron 42, most of the assets in Squadron 42 are going to be used in Star Citizen anyways, so the crossplay there really is, they basically have 600 staff working on the game.
And you have to think like they have more than 10% of that staff working specifically and entirely on bug fixing and technical debt.
Mm-hmm.
65 active devs on that area alone.
Now, you turn that around and realize that the last 2 years, CIG has made basically the same amount of revenue as CCP Games, the developers of EVE Online, as a company.
Yeah.
Yet, CCP Games has 1/5 of the staff. 1/5. That means for every $5 you are putting into EVE Online, 4 of it is getting thrown out the fucking window by CCP's senior management team.
Or is going somewhere. As to where, I don't know, but I'm sure
it's going to their first. It's probably going to their first-person shooter that still hasn't released after 10 years of development.
Yeah.
So now here's the thing. In Star Citizen, you spawn in at a city. You can walk around the city. You can walk straight out. You can walk straight out of the city, out into the fields. There's no cutscenes anywhere. You can hop in your ship, which you go to a station, claim your ship at a thing. It spawns in a hangar. Again, no loading screens. You get into your ship. You walk around the internal of your ship. You go sit in the captain's seat. Start everything up. Still no loading screens.
You jump into a turret,
you jump into a turret, you open, you call the ATC, they open the hangar doors. You've still not gone through a cutscene. The hangar doors open, you go up and out. You can fly around the city, which you can pick somebody else up who's walking around outside on the planet somewhere with, again, no cutscenes. You can fly all the way up into space, no cutscenes. You can land somewhere else, still no cutscenes. It is literally 100% open world. Yeah. All of the time. There is no loading screens anywhere. Yeah. So, like, it is literally a universe simulation. It is not, like Starfield, for example, is a good example of this, where, like, Starfield is basically Mass Effect. You load into an area. You may do a little bit of flying around, but, like, you've got a limited box to play in.
Actually, no, it's not even really multiplayer.
Star Citizen, on the other hand, everything is there. Like, if I land at an outpost and somebody else is there, they're there. If I fly 200 kilometers away from fuck all and there's another ship just kind of hanging out up there, I can kill them, and get a crime stat for it. But
so I think when people are trying to, like, get an idea as to what Squadron 42 versus Star Citizen open world is going to be, is like, it's not a case of, like, you have the FPS side and then you have the flight side. Like, all of it is intrinsically linked. You can have situations where you're flying and your ship can end up getting can end up being disabled, and so you may be in flying around kind of in sort of like a Starflight kind of mode, as it were, but then find out that, like, your ship has been disabled and you're being boarded, and you're going to have to get out of your seat, grab a gun from your gun rack, and defend your ship.
Yep. And you can, boarded, right? Like, both McLeod and I bought the Legionnaires, which are designed for forcibly boarding another ship. Without their permission.
Now, when it comes to Squadron 42 and stuff like that, the only difference between Squadron 42 and, like, the open universe of Star Citizen is Squadron 42 is kind of like a scripted sort of cinematic kind of single player.
It's the single player campaign version to kind of, like, get you into the lore, get you into the
into the feel of the game.
Into the feel of the game, yeah. Versus the Star Citizen online, MMO is, kind of this universe simulation. So, like, there's all kinds of, like, piracy options. There's going to be base building to, like, a pretty extreme amount. There's going to be essentially commodities trading at pretty large scale.
It's not quite a blank canvas for you to build your own adventures out of, but, like, it's a hell of a lot of sand in the sandcastle for you to build your own sandcastles and have your own adventures in. Like,
now let's talk about piracy for a second, because I think the piracy gameplay loop in Star Citizen is unique. So let's say you want to go kill people. You can go kill people. You're going to develop a crime stat, which makes it so that people will come hunt you because you're a wanted criminal, right? So, people start getting missions to come kill you at a certain point. And you can be difficult to find. There are areas that are, practically untraceable. But if you are found and or killed by somebody who's bounty hunting you, you will be revived at the prison.
Yeah.
There you have a number of options. There are missions you can complete at the prison to lower your sentence term. You can go mining, like hand mining, to go get stuff to earn enough merits to get out early, or you can do a jailbreak. And you can do, like, this jump puzzle out of the dungeon or out of the prison, and have somebody come pick you up. That said, you get an instant level 5 crime stat, and people are trying to hunt you while that happens. But if your friends are coming in with high powered ships and are able to pick you up, you can get in, and they can get in and out and be on the road and ready to go real quick.
Yeah, and there's ways, if you want to do it, if there's ways to literally go in and forcibly remove your crime stat.
Yeah.
But sometimes
you
there's
can go hack
sometimes
hack the server that's got your crimes listed on it, and explain them away. So like there's actually like meaningful gameplay loops involved in piracy, as well as like being able to disable ships, because like the components on ships are actually physicalized. So when you shoot a ship's engines out, you can actually destroy the engines, leaving them completely vulnerable to attack, or boarding. Which then you will go from space ship to ship combat to boarding them in first person shooter by literally just getting out of your seat, grabbing a gun off the gun rack, and hauling ass towards the airlock. Like,
yeah,
that is very much a thing.
And while the urban environments look impressive from the sky at the moment, like they haven't been fleshed out that much on the ground. There's certain areas that are definitely fleshed out on the ground, kind of thing, but like not to sort of like the extent of, say, Cyberpunk or anything of that form. But I'm sure they'll be getting towards that kind of that level of fidelity and that level of expansiveness. But
now there's cities, there's shops, there's food and drink that you have to have. Like, it's actually like really cool stuff. It's a really in-depth game, and it's only going to get more in-depth. Like, they have a really solid vision for the direction of where things are going. And yeah. So let's dive into. Didn't we talk about the roadmap roundup last week? Or no, that's from today.
No, that was literally from today. Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Anvil Centurion, a ground-based anti-aircraft vehicle, it is actually going to be in-game ready for 3.17.2. So that'll be pretty cool. And that's all that's mentioned on the roadmap update.
Oh, okay.
Okay, super. I was much more worried.
That's fine. But we can go to something really hilarious, and this you'll find absolutely hilarious as well. So there's basically on Reddit a guy called Great Dane, worst source of advice, created a buyer's flowchart guide for all the ships in Star Citizen, as far as I know. And I don't know, A's, if you're not killing yourself going through this flowchart, I don't know what's happening with you, but you don't seem to have a funny bone. But yes, it's a work of art. But we should
so
start
right.
on this.
Like, it's so right.
It's like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Oh, I love this.
It's so right. I posted it in chat. Like, if you want to see some comical stuff, go check it out.
It's like first ship or not? No, it's not my first ship. Multi-role or specialized multi-role. Do you call your first child Enterprise? What? Yes, or screw you, I call them Serenity. Oh, you're buying a Carrack then.
That's so true.
Yes. Do you like endless discovery and possibilities? Can you wait? Like, really wait? Then you'll probably want the Endeavor. If you can't wait, then buy the Carrack. I kind of feel like
feeling wanted and appreciated. Vulcan Crucible or Apollo. Cheaper. Yeah. Cutlass Red.
It's so good. It's so good.
Oh, so true. This is, yes. I appreciate this.
And like there's certain things in this that like maybe you not quite understand. Like HOSAS, HOSAS, is basically like I believe it's a form of
Hands on stick and stick.
hand-on controls, yeah, that kind of thing. So like, oh, do you like you know, what strikes your fancy? Dead ships? Yes. I want to create dead ships. Okay, how? Pew pew? Yes. Do you have sticks and stuff like that? Yes, and arrow and hell on. Like, there's this great kind of line where it's like, don't care, I have a friend. Okay, you want a Scorpius. I have more friends. Oh, okay, a Redeemer. I have even more friends. Oh, okay, you want a Hammerhead. What? I have way more. Okay, buy a Javelin. It's like, okay, I've reformed as a pacifist. No guns. Okay, you want an SRV. And no quantum drive, an MPUV. It's called Super Cruise, sir. So clearly you're an elite fan. And like, oh, they killed off consoles, so you're obviously playing No Man's Sky. At which point, the flight model sucks. So you, all the way back to the start. First ship or not. So good. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah. So another user found an interesting issue with the Reliant ships.
Yeah, I actually haven't experienced this, even though I have had the
I've run
Reliant
into this.
Tana.
I've run into this in your ship.
Oh, right, of course, yes.
So here's the problem with the Reliant ships. They alter their orientation. So
yeah,
you have the ship as when it's landed is flat and everything's flat. Well, when you take off, it goes into a split mode where the cockpit shifts 180
to a vertical,
but the cargo bay behind it stays level, and the two wings flip 180 as well. So like if you're in the back, there is now no longer a way into the cockpit.
And if you're in the cockpit, there's no way to get into the cargo bay area until it goes back to the level.
So if you get out of your seat before before the animation completes or before it goes back to everything being level, you just exit the ship. Which happened to me in McLeod's ship. And if you're in the back and you go to sleep in the back and say somebody else logs out and they forget to return it to level, you spawn in a ship that you can't do anything.
Yeah, because
other than step out the back and die to asphyxiation.
Because you can't get into the controls to revert it to the horizontal kind of frame, and you can't. The only thing that you can do maybe potentially is open the cargo bay door, but that doesn't actually solve anything, because all that happens is you're out in space, and chances are you're out in the middle of space, and you're not going to get anywhere before you die, or before you get so bored that you're just going to basically commit suicide anyway. So yeah, there's an issue at the moment.
Yeah.
There's definitely an issue.
One of the other major news points as well here is that Star Citizen has officially broken 4 million user accounts. That is a lot of accounts.
That is a lot of accounts. There may be a few duplicate accounts. There may be a few alt accounts there, but like.
Another thing to note is that they are also currently on a record funding year. Where last year, early November, is where they are for funding already this year. So they're doing real well. Let's see, last but not least, 2 days from now, Friday the 22nd, is going to be the Battle of the Bricks, which is Star Citizen versus EVE Online, and they're going to be putting together Legos in the shape of the ships from their respective games.
I love the fact that they've the one picture that they've used for this tweet that they've sent out was the one that provided so much controversy in Eve.
Yes.
And
There
I
are
love how
a
they're
couple of
like,
ships that are in the game that are obviously like damn near duplicates of each other.
I love how they're cute versions of them as well. Like they're
Yeah.
like cute little like dinky kind of baby versions of themselves of each ship.
Yeah. They're pretty much the same ship.
Ah, yeah.
These are the same picture. Like
It's like two different art kind of art students like did a drawing of the same thing, but just in two
yes.
different styles. And I was like, there you go. And someone's like, it's the same thing. It's like, I mean, yes, probably, but no, but yes. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes on Friday.
Yes. So with that's actually the end of our content for Star Citizen, and also kind of the end of our show for today. So I want to thank everybody for kind of joining us. I want to thank our new subs, our new follows. You guys are the reason we do this, and everybody else who's here, like you two, or equally, like you're all valued to us, like straight up. We continue to do this, and you're gonna continue to see some changes on the channel as we move into kind of a professionalized version of what we're doing. Neither of us does this full time, obviously, but we're going to be starting to make some moves. So we'll see what's what and where things are going. Keep an eye on things. If you haven't had the chance to, hit the follow button. Every week our show is on Wednesday at 6 p.m. starts our pre-show where we talk about a variety of different topics, mostly unrelated to gaming, although some related to gaming. And then our normal actual show will start at 7 p.m. Eastern time, also on Wednesday, obviously. And it goes generally for a few hours. So yeah. With that, if you guys want to join us, chat with us a bit on Discord, we're always open after the show, and throughout the day we're kind of hanging around. So always feel free.
I would like to thank nwdb.info, by the way, for syndicating our stuff out, which is really cool. If you guys don't know, nwdb.info is a New World database site that has a whole bunch of things. It also has a whole bunch of information on the PTR as well. So if you want kind of very accurate and very detailed information about things in the PTR, then go check that out, because they have a bunch of interesting things as well that's coming in the PTR that you may not realize. Yeah, and it's a great place to go and check out all the kind of interesting kind of things with the new patch, as well as it has a bunch of other different bunch of other kind of tools that are available to you, as well as a link to a really good map as well. So
yes,
yeah, definitely check that out.
So with that, thank you guys, and as always, we will see you in the new world.